Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. One moment.
Okay.
Okay.
There is, I can't remember what the password is, so.
Okay, here we go. First of all,
Chelsea, did you get officially, Correct, yeah, officially official now.
officially official.
Oh, I was gonna make that so that people can come in if they need to, because that door, I kept them.
Oh, so now it's locked?
Now it's locked,
Oh,
so
I'm
I can,
sorry.
no, that's okay, it's nothing you did, I can change it.
lock system?
No, it's been here forever, but there's a mode, you switch it, so it either auto locks or it doesn't auto lock.
Okay.
So while you guys are doing that, I'll take care of it.
Does anybody have the Wi-Fi password or?
I do, I must, because I'm connected
I
to
think
it.
I'm on. Looks like I'm on.
Yeah, I don't know what the password is, I just remember it being gooey, like. Every time I've gotten it, they gave me a little slip from the front desk, so. And again, it was,
no.
it's not one that's real easy, like yes or something.
Oh, wait, it doesn't show me the password.
For some
Yeah.
reason.
Okay. Did anyone hear from Sarah? No. Okay, well, I guess I'll call the meeting to order if she comes then. Awesome.
So everybody signed in? I think so, everybody but Madeline.
No.
No, getting her. Okay. Thank you.
Are you Mike?
I'm Mike.
I'm Madeline.
Pleasure.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for being here.
What's that?
Thanks for being here.
You bet.
What's your last name?
Maples.
All right, Roger.
Yeah. I'm here.
Madeline, here, Beth.
Yes.
Mary Dow.
Yes.
Rod.
Yeah.
And Bugsy. And is there any citizen comment on matters within board jurisdiction? I don't see anyone here.
Do we have agendas that are printed out?
No, I didn't print the
Here,
agenda.
I'll share.
Okay.
Oh, is it your computer up there,
No, yeah, I can't pull,
Chelsea?
No?
Oh,
I can't pull it up on my.
do you have the agenda? Is it your computer that's up there?
Oh, no, it's actually that camera that's up there. Oh, actually, it is this computer. I don't have the agenda. I can, do you have the agenda? Do you want to advertise the agenda?
Just if people wanted to see it, if they didn't have it.
I have a printout of it.
Do we need to make it up there, or are there enough copies around?
Make it up where?
Put it up on
See if
the
if
screen.
we can.
Can you, I
Yeah, I can pull it up.
can,
Yep.
how can you pull it up and I can't?
I
I
can
got internet.
join the meeting. and then do that.
Okay.
Okay,
I have the password
Well-
saved.
that's pretty, there's not much on it anyway. I mean, there's a lot, but not many items.
And if anybody does want it, if you will email, we have now one-click links for all of these meetings, so I can send it to you, so you can hit a one-click dial into it, because it's the same every time. Or if you want to click on it and be there, you can do that every time.
Okay, so we'll move on to action items, approval of past meetings of December and February minutes.
I move to approve minutes from December and February.
You gotta speak up louder so it can pick it up on the recording phone.
I move to approve the minutes of the meetings from December and February.
I second.
I can't remember, do we need a vote on that?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the next thing I have on the agenda is our officers, chair, vice chair, and secretary.
I nominate Roger Moldorf for chair.
New guy.
Second.
Awesome. Thanks for stepping up, Roger. Do we vote on that?
Second.
Second.
Rod seconded.
And now a vote.
Okay,
Aye.
all in favor?
Aye.
I
Aye.
know you get to run the meeting.
Well, y'all just voted for a guy that has no institutional memory, so you're gonna need a lot of help from all of you.
You got it.
So I will open up, for nominations for vice chairman.
I nominate Beth.
I second.
All those in favor, or any other nominations? Nominations closed. All those in favor?
Aye.
And we're gonna keep Madeline on as our secretary.
Oh, cool, I don't need to run a reelection campaign.
No, you don't. Unless there's somebody who really wants that job.
Unless someone else really wants to do it.
Good.
Okay, very good. So, we have a motion to close, I guess the nominations are all closed and we're all voted on, so.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for,
So the next items are discussion items. And I imagine that since these are discussion items, are discussion only, no action taken, just,
we can, I think we can take an action during the discussion items,
okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
We can move to take an action, yeah.
Yeah.
If something comes up.
all right.
We should call those agenda items, don't you think?
Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
should.
Okay.
And maybe we should list them as agenda items for possible action.
Well, we're working on a weird asterisk with the council, and we could copy that method.
Well, there's some rules that apply to council that I don't know apply to you guys either,
Okay.
in that, so council cannot take action on something that's not on the agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you put it on your agenda, if you follow those same rules, I would suppose the assumption is you could take action with it.
Okay. But maybe to make it clear, can we do that? Make it, for the future, make it,
Yep.
discussion items with possible action,
Or agenda items with.
agenda items with possible action.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, so Little League coal miners, I would like to introduce everyone to Royce Knows. What's your last name, Royce?
Nace,
Nace.
but Royce is fine.
Okay, Royce. He submitted on behalf of Little League, to the Parks Board last summer.
Yeah, somebody did it last summer and then now
Yeah.
we're trying to improve upon it, so.
So we have an open-ended MOU right now with baseball and softball, which are different leagues. And, Royce came to the board with a request for some items for maintenance at the ball field. And essentially got tabled. And so, since we're talking about budget use before the end of June, or possibly adding something to the 2024-2025 budget, we asked Royce to come back in and discuss what that might look like.
Sure. Okay.
Okay?
Yeah,
Bruce, would you
Yeah.
want to come up here and have a seat?
sure.
Do it on the tall turner.
Yeah, make it a little easier for everybody. I'll give just a quick background. We've got quite a good board now, and so it's gotten a little more aggressive in the last year or two. I don't know if they've ever had one, but it'll be the first time in a long time we'll have, women's softball for the first time, and that's gonna be in Belfry. Belfry's putting a field together for us. And I think it's gonna be 15 and 16-year-olds right now, and then the good thing is, we got a lot of kids, boys and girls wanting to play. The bad news is, we have two fields that are kinda deteriorating, and so trying to have practices and then games we kinda had to get Belfry involved and help us out a little bit over there. So, anyhow, the fields down there, we've talked about, we need some gravel, but we think we're gonna try to get some donations and see if we can't do that on our own. The things that we kinda thought we'd like to talk to you guys about is the electrical, making sure the 6 electrical outlets are safe and running. And it was hard to put a bid together for that because if it's something simple, great, but if we have to start tearing up some ground, it could get ugly in a hurry. So we didn't know if we could work together on that and kind of see what we have, if it's a simple problem or if there's some bigger problems. But, last year they were running extension cords and there were some open wires and kids running around. We're like, we can't have extension cords. The scoreboards don't work, but we're gonna try to get some new scoreboard sponsorship money and, you know, get our own scoreboards, but if we could help just make sure there's power to the scoreboard. We didn't know where that would fall. The other thing is we would, the netting on both fields is gone. I was over there this spring. We got bids on that, and it's $560 to replace both of them, and that's with the Little League doing our own labor.
Are these foul ball netting?
Yeah, up the top net right behind home plate.
Okay,
It's
behind
all-
the backstop,
Yep,
the top.
and it was bad last year, and it's gone this year. So, that brought up another point, if we're gonna be up there on scaffolding, we should probably paint, because I don't know the last time it's been painted over there. So, and it'll look better if it's painted, it'll also prevent some of that older pipe from rusting. The pipe they used was all donated 35 years ago, and it's just the kind of pipe that needs painted.
Are you talking about fence? Like for what?
Yeah, the
galvanized fencing.
Yeah, but it's not galvanized, it's some other like oil field donation pipes and stuff, and so, yeah, up top where it holds that netting.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
We thought if we're
The back
stop.
stop, okay.
Well, we thought if we're up there, well, we better paint it since we're up there and the net's already gone.
Yeah.
Well, then we figured we better paint a little bit more around the dugouts and just make it look a little more nicer, and we talked about painting it blue instead of the green, just to kind of
Yeah.
match the Red Lodge colors that are already up at the high school with the blue and gold
Yeah.
and stuff.
Cool.
Then we thought we better paint the bathrooms if we're doing that, 'cause it's been a long time since the bathrooms down there have been. So we didn't know if, you know, if there could be some money towards paint. All this, we'll do all the labor, we'll do all the painting. We got somebody who's donated, a contractor's donated his painting system, so we can get in there and get it done.
When does the season start, or when would you start play?
Play will start about April 15th, and this is also just so you guys know too, on April 6th, we have, in the morning, we have CPR training, so all coaches will be CPR certified, and other volunteers, hopefully. And we also have concussion training, so we'll be certified in concussion and CPR, and that's on April 6th. And so we decided if we're gonna be busy all morning with CPR training, let's just call the afternoon of the 6th cleanup day, and we're gonna have parents and kids and everybody go over there on the afternoon of April 6th, if the weather's nice, and paint, clean, organize, just knock some of this stuff out that's been kind of lingering. That shed has baseballs and helmets from, I think when they originally started 30 years ago. We kind of decided last meeting, we're just gonna throw it. It needs,
Yeah, I would also say that wall of shelving on the right, that nobody really knows whose stuff that is. It's got old chemicals and I think we could make a lot of more space in there if we got rid of, and that desk, I don't know that we need a desk in the
Yeah.
shed.
yeah,
So, yeah, and if soccer can maybe show up. and
Yeah.
help organize that, I think they'd be in for that.
right, soccer and softball and, what is it the Frisbee, and then, is it,
Well, they don't use the shed though, it's soccer,
Right.
softball, and baseball that have had an MOU to use the shed.
the shed, but then it's Jen and Frisbee have it to use the property. I think there was 5 groups to use
Right.
the property total.
I think the tree share program is using that also,
Okay,
or a tree share off and on.
okay. Well, yeah, there's, and we've put in for a couple of grants, especially with women's softball coming on board, to help buy new helmets, buy new bats, buy some softball. So we're hoping some grants come in and, replace some of that stuff. A lot of those helmets just aren't even safe anymore. So we don't want to get into kids playing with them and thinking they're safe and wearing something they shouldn't be. So we're gonna get rid of that. But the season is April 15th, so we're trying April 6th to get there, get it cleaned up. We know we won't get everything, especially if we want to get some, more dirt brought in too for those fields. It's just been a long time and it just needs done. So we're trying to figure out a way to get some donations and get some, the real baseball gurus know exactly what kind of story, and they've got the mud and they got it all figured out. I just said, just get it in there.
Netting,
Netting, electrical,
Mm-hmm.
and paint were the 3 things that we were wondering if you could get your support on, and we would do.
Have you had electricians look at the outlets?
We haven't, I wasn't sure if the city had somebody that could look, and we can have 1 or 2 of our reps there at the same time to,
We've got a guy that we use, could have him go over and look at it.
yeah, and I can meet with them and kind of show them all the spots and where we're at.
Probably we'd start with, I'd come over and Willie, and we'd look at it, and then call Bart, he'll come
Okay,
take care of it.
okay, yeah,
I think,
So give me your phone number, really.
yeah, yeah.
it was my understanding too that the city was planning to have Baldwin's do something with rehabbing the well that's there and looking at sprinklers, which has been sort of a long-standing problem. The drainage isn't great,
It's,
primarily because there's not a lot of cover soil there, and, I don't know, Mike, if that makes, it seems to me, do you remember, Madeline, there was,
I remember talk of it, but I don't
Yeah.
remember anything.
I think let's throw that, Mike, on your list, because that'll be, sounds to me like we made the right choice for a staff rep here for this group. If I may ask a question, backing up just a little bit, you had mentioned some grant money. Is that, who is the entity receiving that grant?
it's gonna be,
Let me rephrase, is the entity expected to receive that grant, the city, yes, no?
no, it'll be the
Okay,
league.
okay. So one of the things, and it'll probably come up in some conversations, so blessings, wonderful. One of the things that we're discovering, and it tends to be parks and sustainability just because of the nature of the grants that show up there, is, like, we've got a wonderful Arbor Day grant coming in, 38,000, we're getting to do some trees and everything, except this all got, and my understanding is that the city is the recipient of that.
That's correct.
And we found out about it after it's all said and done. So we're making it work, it's in there. So there's just, one of the things I wanna put out there as we set these up is stuff that involves the city, whether it be writing checks, doing the work, coordinating with all the other utilities and everything. We just need to remember to bring, the city needs to be here about it in advance, especially if it's something that there's gonna be some sort of a matching grant, and city council's gonna have to sign off on spending those dollars and stuff. And that's not to say we can't do it, but our chances are a whole lot better if we approach it from the beginning. And it's more helpful if we have that sense, yes, Project X is something we wanna move forward with, yes, let's pursue it, let's do it, then council can say, move forward, they can direct the mayor to direct staff and say, go out and look at this and expose that. And one of the things I'm finding out, and I don't know that it's anybody's fault, it's just everybody with good intentions diving off and diving into things, and then I was like, ooh, we forgot to check 3 boxes. And so I'll throw that out, and when you mentioned grants, I thought, oh, is this one of those? But if it's you guys, then I don't know that it involves
I think you're
that.
going after equipment, it would be
Yeah.
like soccer getting goals.
Yeah.
Yeah, and,
Baseball's getting helmets.
Not
and bats.
unattached items, but.
yeah, and so
Yeah.
what we did, just so you guys know too, is we finally got set up, I think properly. We are going to be, well, that's in here somewhere.
501c3.
We are, but we're Red Lodge Baseball Association, and we did it on purpose, because then we're gonna have 3 DBAs under that, because there's a group trying to start a high school, baseball team, Carbon County Cavaliers. So they're gonna wanna fundraise a little bit different, so they're gonna be And then we got Little League, that is truly the Little League kids, and then now with women's softball, we wanted a little DBA because I think they can go in there and probably apply as an all-women's, they can maybe have an opportunity for more things. So we kind of set it up strategically to have a few avenues to go after $1,000, $1,500 grants as they come up. So, kind of working on that too.
So are you a fiscal sponsor, or you do have the 501c3?
We are going to go through the foundation
Okay,
for
so
a lot
fiscal
of
sponsorship.
Mhm.
Okay.
The
Yeah, for their-
Community Foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah, on that board too, so then it just,
Okay.
I can make it all.
And I feel like it's been under that umbrella for a long time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
that
and I
makes
think they take 6%, and it's like,
Yeah.
paid you more for
Yeah.
all the work they do, so.
Good deal.
And generally, one of the things, and part of the reason they do that is because a lot of those grants, a lot of those things actually build administrative costs in. So
Yep.
we'll give you the money on top of the amount you're asking for
Mhm.
to have somebody administer that.
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And they knew that and set it up, said, okay, we'll do that service for you.
oh, yeah, yep, yeah.
So in summary,
Well, I've got,
and I'm the coal miner owner, so, and I've been involved with coal miners for 15 years. You're looking at some work that I think would fall under Public Works easily, with going in and looking at electrical and all that.
Sprinklers and well.
The comment to that well and stuff too is definitely gonna fall in
Right.
there.
Yeah.
And, that we don't really know the amount, but it sounds like we would be looking at $1,500 or something for netting and paint and whatever, and you're supplying labor.
mhm,
This all sounds really reasonable to me. As a come forward and start this discussion, we certainly could talk to you again next month as we get a little bit closer, right?
And yeah, and you've got a council rep here that's responsible for taking that in there. And Mike, a piece of kind of background that didn't necessarily, happen in unless you had a chance to review the past minutes and stuff. One of the conversations that came up last time, and it was kind of the one that went, blink, blink, Mike needs to be here, was, and even though you weren't here yet, it was, but we were talking about there's a significant amount of funds that have been set aside for upkeep and maintenance on parks that as of yet have not been spent, and there is a June deadline. And that doesn't mean we're racing to spend it, whether it's not good or bad, but what it does mean in my mind is if we have valid projects and it was
Money for 'em.
budgeted for and we've set it up, we, the city, need to do our part to follow through and make that happen.
well, I got one more little thing.
Okay.
Little or big?
Yeah, let's see. Empty room first. So, there was, years ago, I think it was like Norwest Bank or something, donated like $6,000 or $6,500 to the Little League to use on a brand-new field. And it's sitting in a CD, and the accountant doesn't want to release it because it was supposed to be for a new field. But I think we've all kind of decided that, if we could put it towards capital improvements, and maybe what we're wanting to do is build like a, practice area where we could have like 2 bullpen runs where kids could practice pitching, put up some net, we got donated,
So while we're
Laurel
feeding the
put 'em-
polls, let's go ahead and build another couple of wire cages while we're at it.
Right.
I was waiting for that in your
Well, what-
presentation.
well, what we were wanting to know is what is the usage and everything behind the shed? It's, right now, there's just a bunch of material just sitting there. And
Like
we,
between the field and the shed?
well, it's behind, like,
No, this would be like due west, not.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see if I can.
Yeah,
figure it out.
I know what
Between
you're
the-
talking about.
Okay.
between,
Oh, yeah, where there's just like all that construction
The
and stuff.
piping all went through there, the drainage.
mhm.
Here we go.
Oh, there we go, yeah, nice.
Wow.
Yeah, so, the piping, they may come through like, somewhere over here. And we were just looking at this area right in here, for like I said, Laurel donated some netting, so what we want to do is have an entire team be able to practice here while 2 games are going on here.
Okay.
And right now, there's a batting cage right here, but only 1 kid can be there at a time, so then you got 11 kids running around. And it just, as you come in for a game, if you got a bunch of kids running around and practicing here while you got 2 games going on, one for safety and two, and it looks better. We thought if we were kind of behind, but we didn't want to, we did some practice throwing over here, but we didn't know ownership and usage right there. So before we touched anything, we just wanted to talk to you guys and learn what you had planned for it, or if it's available, or, you know, we'll have to do some one call. There's a lot to it, but I just wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, so I don't know what the commitment was, but there was some discussion that BRTA wanted to put a shed somewhere, do you remember, Madeline?
They already have their shed, I think.
Where is it?
It's down on, off of Hagen,
Oh,
but next to the Northwestern Energy.
oh, okay, all
Well,
right.
farther north,
No, it's,
Further south.
you can see it. It was in that same,
it's right in that area?
across from Rock Creek Lumber.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, yeah, you can
Oh,
see it.
Oh,
I'm
you can
sure.
see it.
Where, okay, there's Rock Creek.
What are you guys thinking of putting over there by that, where the storm drain's at, like structures or?
Well, so to get that money released, it has to be capital improvements, but we also don't want to put anything that's really permanent because of the piping and everything. And so, you know, I didn't know if, you know, if those nettings and stuff could be over here that could be easily just taken down and set off to the side if somebody needs to go through there. And then, you know, we'd have to maybe measure just maybe a bullpen run right over here or something, but.
Is that just a pile of soil?
It's wood chips that needs to get moved
Oh.
into the
Yeah,
playground.
wood
Okay,
chips,
Oh.
that's behind the building, yeah.
And if it's something that we, that
Yeah,
could
would
be
you move
discussed
those-
further, we'd
Did
go
you
and
move
measure.
those wood
Sure.
chips for us?
Well, yeah.
They need to go on the playground.
We could move those for you, because we have to have the guys come in, and we're gonna put more gravel right here, because
Oh, it's always muddy,
it's
yeah.
always muddy, little gravel here.
Set the playground.
And then this field,
Mhm.
just so you guys know, is actually gonna get
Big wood
a new fence, a temporary fence, but this field will actually be Little League dimensions all year for the first time.
Okay.
And so I already talked to Baldwin and told him, Si, when he goes out there, make sure I go with him. So that as he looks at sprinklers, I can make sure it marks so we don't send
Yeah.
sprinklers at each
So you're getting somebody to pay for fencing that, all this is on city land, so you do wanna come, make sure, Royce, you come through the parks board.
It's already, fencing is already in there. We
Oh.
put it up last year for a tournament, and so we're just putting it back up.
Oh, I
There's
guess
even
it's
foul
temporary.
poles over there, yep,
Yeah,
it's temporary.
oh, temporary,
So
okay.
then when Little League's done and softball wants to use it,
You
all
move
they
it out.
gotta do is pull the T-post, roll up the fence, and then we'll put all our sponsor flags out there on it. We're also getting bids out, since you got it pulled up, there's a gap right there, and a gap right there, and there's no gates. So we got bids on putting in gates, we can actually enclose the field,
Mm-hmm.
so we don't have foul balls going
Yeah.
through there and stuff. And they'll be easily removable or whatever, so we can get in and out of there to work the fields. So we got quotes on that, we'll try to pay for that.
You were asking about ownership, I don't know if this is where you're going, but that building that's on the very, very left side, right here, where my cursor is,
Where's that?
there's a square that kind of comes out about halfway across that trees and then comes back there. That is Northwest Corporation, basically about that. Other than that, everything else, this is all city stuff, so.
Right.
Did I understand the question properly? or did
Right,
you
I know we
understand?
can't, we had talked about it before we do any improvements or anything in the city property, we need to ask permission, make sure it's the right thing, but I didn't even know if that was something we could take the next step on and measure.
We come over and look at it, figure out where that line's at.
You know, we might wanna put in a couple of posts, just for those, put in maybe a little more safety for those, pitchers. I just know when they throw and they're young, those balls get a little wild, so we might wanna put up a little something that backstops.
Do you have enough distance in that area to?
Well, that's what I was saying, if we, I know they practiced back there some pitching last year, and I think the majors and down have room. I don't know about the juniors, the 14, 15-year-olds, it might be a little tight, but it was a chicken or that, we didn't know if we could go over there and start measuring and stuff, and then
Yeah.
find out we couldn't even use it, so
Yeah.
I thought
Seems
some
like-
We'll get together and
Yeah.
go over a bunch of this stuff.
There's my cell and then my work something.
It seems like these are a lot of good ideas that that we can hopefully help with, but need to be like fleshed out.
Yeah, yeah.
More,
The
but-
energy towards putting something in these ball fields again is awesome, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they haven't really had attention in a long time.
Yeah.
you've got a growing program
Oh.
now.
And
But-
part of that was,
I don't think so.
part of that kind of goes back to
But
the
there's
budget and
regular
resort
people
tax a few years ago. It was only allowed to be used for capital expenses. So we could go in and put in the wonderful kids park over on the south side of on the north side of Lyons. Yet we couldn't do anything to maintain it. So when that was represented to the public a couple of years ago, maintenance is now allowed, which is why we now have a parks maintenance budget. Because I remember 3 or 4 years straight where it was zero,
Yeah.
just multiple years, time and time again.
So Mike, this is sprinkler issues.
Yeah, it is. But at one time,
And
everything worked.
it's because the coal,
And-
there's really thin cover over the coal,
And then
and it doesn't drain
swamp
well.
over there too.
Yeah,
That's a big hole.
yeah. I mean, actually, it's amazing that it looks that green.
Yeah,
I don't know when you picked that, but
Yeah.
The fields
Like
don't,
watercolor.
they don't have warning tracks.
I'm just noticing the guy that held the other end of the rope to draw the arc tripped right there on one end.
we had a lot of
A
rain
little bit,
last,
I think they
rain,
used to,
so
I think it's
everything
kinda
looks
gotten,
Going over.
yeah.
So like you said, everything needs to be approved by the city. Does that, so when you're talking about putting in a new scoreboard and painting different colors and gravel, is that kind of stuff something, who needs to say like, yeah, go ahead and do that? 'Cause that seems great, but I would wanna make sure like that gravel's weed-free, for example, and like, I'm sure you would pick a good color, but I would wanna know that it's not gonna be like neon blue or
Oh,
something.
right, it'll
Yeah.
be,
Is
You're in
that
charge of
under
picking
the
color.
MOU? Do we know what the status of that is?
Yeah, that's what I'm
So-
curious. You said it's
so the
open-ended?
MOU isn't, so the
The
MOU.
the MOU's up on the hill is what I'm thinking of.
No, so it's a little complicated. So before Shelley's Field was built, there was a coal miners MOU, and it was baseball, softball, little league, adult baseball, adult softball, little league, soccer, frisbee golf, and BRTA. And that was, because soccer used to use these areas to practice, and then frisbee golf goes all the way around here. So now, soccer is part of 2 MOUs. They have one just for Shelley's Field, and they are part of the 5 user group MOU that includes the ball field. So it's a little complicated. This one, soccer signed it, but softball and Little League didn't. So it's gotta be finished. Doesn't say anything about signage, it just talks about maintenance. However, when we put Shelley's sign up here, we did go through the city and we had requested sign approval, like, as if we had a
Like,
sign on.
like
Main
planning
Street.
board stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So, I would think scoreboard probably falls under that. So, we're gonna be a little blind, and, you know, 'cause you got all new administrators but I'm sure there's people that can help figure out what you gotta hop through on that one.
gotcha.
'Cause it'd be really nice, like, before April 6th, to be like, yeah, you can go.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
let's explore that question and see if we flush that out is, you come to us and make a request for, I guess, approval for, maintenance items and improvements at the field. Traditionally, how does that work? Does this body then make a recommendation to the city council?
I think so. So I think basically what's gonna happen is your council rep is gonna bring something as an action item.
Right.
And what council is gonna wanna hear is, has the board that we've selected, that's our planning board, looked at this, brainstormed over it, signed off on it, and do they think it's a good idea to move forward?
Right.
Yep. So,
When's the next council meeting?
Tuesday.
So,
Agenda's already out.
but there's 2.
No, it goes out tomorrow is when it'll be
Yep.
done.
And then there's
Action
another one
planning
before
board.
April 6th?
But the other, yeah, because we do
So
second
it's
and
right,
fourth,
so
we've
if
got
you could
several.
get us,
Yep.
so if you could get us, like, specifics for that little stuff before the next city
Yeah.
council meeting?
Even if you
Specifically-
estimate it, let's keep,
Yeah, I've got a paint price, backstops, the electrical is
Unknown.
unknown. I didn't know, we're trying to fundraise to do all this stuff, so I didn't know if a load of gravel, if I should put that in there and we'll do all the work. I mean, I guess I could put that in there, and if they say no, they say no, but I'm trying to
Put it in.
find things that are maintenance that are not like we kinda talked about, that are not.
Yep. Can you email that to us? Just
Mhm.
do your wish list.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wish
Yeah.
list, and if you have numbers to tie to it, great.
Yeah.
And then that MOU, if anyone has a copy of that?
So
We can get, you have access, anybody has access to it, but we do keep all those MOUs. So I just wrote down coal miners MOU is what it's called, as the specific MOU there.
Yeah, and it was always at the front desk, and you could go in and sign that.
Yeah.
So we weren't going to rewrite a new one like
Yeah.
you guys, I know they threw one out there.
That, I talked to the gentleman that wrote that and said, you get
Okay.
different
So,
plastic.
I mean, if there's something non-digestible in that one,
Okay.
then you certainly could make a note and ask to be stricken or added to. But I know we have.
And then that would go through council, and they would kind of look
Yeah.
and have those conversations. My only request, this is, what's the word, editorial or whatever, is avoid the term wish list while we're doing this.
Yeah.
These are the things we'd like to do, these, wish
These
list
are the things
almost.
that have to be done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have to be.
And we'll
These are
start
things
with.
we'd like, this is a really high level, this we really hope there's a way we can figure out. I hope there's an overall tenor in the city of working to figure out how to get to yes. That's something that we're working on pretty universally. Now, unfortunately, there's also we're bound by dollars. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
We have fiduciary responsibilities with the public tax dollars. But I think come in and say, here's why we think this is important. I'm just saying, I heard wish list, and I could just feel the public
Request for
response.
funds.
Yeah.
Request for funds, yeah.
So in that,
will
will
because we
you-
have everything we have to do, and I'll just put it all on there and see.
Yeah, put on there, 'cause I think some of this stuff, and I gotta look at, I haven't looked at Parks budget under Public Works yet. It's, haven't got on my radar yet.
Yeah.
There might, for like electrical stuff and dealing with sprinklers in the well, there might be something in there, like you said, that we've got money budgeted.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the
Sprinklers
parks,
have been in the public works
yeah,
budget, not the parks budget before.
there's the Parks Board budget, and then there's the Parks budget within Public Works that are two separate budgets, as I,
Well, and there's some,
there's the
it's
Parks
almost like you're
Board
being fed
budget.
by two buckets of money
Yeah.
too. So here's the stuff so parks definitely fall under public works.
Right.
But a lot of public works stuff is enterprise funds, so like water, sewer, those are all isolated buckets of money that doesn't get to go out or do anything else. But then there's other money, whether it be general or resort tax, that is for, and like I said, going back to the request for funds, the goal is not, we have X number of dollars, let's spend it,
Right.
and find ways to spend it. But we have stuff to do. Do we have the budget available particularly where we're presuming the assumption is we do have some budget available, is the way to approach it.
Yeah.
And part of that is you guys prioritizing it, getting that information to council,
Okay.
and saying, this is what we prioritize. Your job is to persuade council to agree with you. They may or may not.
Yeah.
That's what they're elected to do.
Yeah.
And then my job is to execute what they guide and direct.
That's what we wanted, is we wanted to know what they agreed to, because then we know what we have to go fundraise for. outside.
Right. Yep.
So,
So it sounds like we need some more detailed
mhm.
information from you.
And
with prices.
I'm somewhat
Over time.
close to that.
Okay.
I could get that, you know,
And if you don't mind including like the paint color and what the scoreboard would look like.
Yep.
So,
And
scoreboard or,
weed-free
Did
gravel.
I
Yeah.
hear that he needs to go to planning about some of this stuff?
Well, if there's a sign they want to put in, that'll go to planning
Yep.
board.
we're a ways
Yeah.
out on the sign,
Yeah.
because we've got the signs and the electrical, the motherboard that runs it all are so old that we were trying to find used parts to just fix what was there,
Okay.
and we don't even know that they make it anymore.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a little bit, for us on the scoreboard, is it gonna be a $4,000 scoreboard, because you need to know the new scoreboard and the motherboard? So that part we're probably a little bit out on, but paint and gravel, and the nets need to be up. You know, there's some things I can get to you fairly.
And paint,
Okay, good.
okay.
so I'm gonna,
Yeah.
I'm gonna just take 30 seconds and complicate it one more step though. But I think everybody needs to be reminded of this, especially new Parks Board people, is if you requested money from the city dollars were used to build something, big deal. Because then the city has obligations that an engineer has to be possibly used. and it has to go through special fund, you know, like the, acquiring someone to do the work, they have to fit into,
There's
Like
bid
a
processes.
TSA,
Yeah, RFPs,
So-
yep.
so if you were to build something and you ask for city dollars, that turns into something that's different than, hey, if you give us paint, but we're gonna go in and do the labor, that's
Mhm.
different.
Well, and that's
Just
what,
remember, if city dollars are used to build something, it changes the whole, and it's not overnight.
right, and that's why, so like,
Moves at the speed of government.
well, that's why we're, in the back area, that CD matures on the seventh, and there's $6,500. I'm like, we'll build it
So who's
with
the-
our money,
Who's the
not the
holder of the CD?
It's at First Interstate, and it's under Little League.
It's under Little League is the
Mhm.
owner of the CD.
Yeah, and I just found out, like, this week who donated it, and it was North State or Northwest Bank.
Oh.
Like,
And
it was
they don't
something so
even, they're
long.
not even a bank anymore.
They're not even a bank. So I was, telling the accountant that we'd like to do something with that rather than just sitting there, and we wanna do it within the spirit of the donation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Whatever
So
they
you'd be
intended it
using your
for.
dollars to build that.
Mhm. Yep.
all right.
So paint color, weed-free gravel, get detailed with it a little bit.
So the detail, oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. I'll get
No, go ahead.
please do that part first, yeah,
Okay,
and then
well,
I'll get into it.
The details that we need from you, this is a question to the board. You want those brought back for the next meeting? Do we have time to make a recommendation at the next Parks meeting, board meeting?
Sounds like if he could get a list to us and we get it to Chelsea, that might help hasten some of it.
Yeah, so ideally what's gonna happen is it's gonna go to the standing committee, which is just half the council. And a part of it, honestly, there's a limitation of, one of the things that's happening right now is, it's the new year, there's a lot of stuff there, so, like, we get the business of city council done in an hour, and then the rest of the meeting, which is council sharing what they're working with their standing committees, has been going an hour and a half. So it's just a little bit of time, but if you can get that to her, I mean, she can get it on the agenda, or her, the chair of that particular committee, and I don't remember if that's you or not, but they can get that on the agenda and prioritize it. The goal, what we're trying to avoid is something that shows up, and it's gotta be, you know, today we're hearing about it, I put it on the agenda tomorrow, and council gets 3 days to look at it over the weekend, nobody to call and ask questions, because it's weekday. So the idea is just to have the conversation happen, so that the meeting part is really boring. We talked about this last meeting, and even heard about it the meeting before.
Okay.
So the sooner we can get that stuff started, then that message gets relayed on.
So essentially what I'm gonna do is ask to get this put on the agenda for this upcoming Tuesday for our standing committee, not necessarily the council, and then we'll bring it up at council. Just as a discussion saying, hey, Little League wants to do these improvements, these are their next steps before we will actually take action on this. So having that discussion to where it's on their agenda, they can ask questions that then I can return back with more questions. So that way will kind of help us to get organized for the following meeting to where we have all of our ducks in a row at that point. The council has an opportunity to hear about it, all those questions are getting asked, and we can get the answers we need before making a decision. One thing that I find interesting looking through, I found the MOU, and I just wanted to have some parameters to make sure that we are in the right court here. Most of this looks like it's supposed to go, and Dave's gonna love this, to the city planner. So, like, I'm reading through here right now, and adult softball league, little league, Red Lodge soccer shall, inform the city planner of proposed maintenance projects such as fertilizing, aerating, landscaping to be conducted by a third party and then approved in advance by the city planner. Also, providing counting of income and expenses attributable to the advertising conducted at the baseball field to the city planner by November 1st of each year. Identify to the city planner maintenance or renovations that may need to be conducted by the city. Confirm to Parks, Recreation, and Tree Board by March of each year. The contact information is the same. And then provide financial assistance as available and agreed to by the parties and assist in the maintenance and renovation.
Is that one signed?
That's the question. I don't know. This is the one that I was able to find online.
The 2016 one,
Yes.
No,
so that's not the most recent.
no.
Okay.
We signed one in 2022.
See, this is why I asked for the
That
updated one.
sounds
Yeah,
like,
it doesn't,
one that was put together by Neil and never used.
Is the 2023 one that's in the drive, that might be the most?
Sounds awful.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
my guy signed it.
And I have access to that
And I
drive,
think
right?
that before we can
Flannery
proceed,
dictator back
somebody
then?
on Royce's board, an executive person on the board needs to sign an MOU with the city.
And
So
we,
that is the only
I don't see it
contract
on
we have
the
with
drive,
them.
actually.
yeah, we've got
I just see the
a
draft in the drive.
couple of MOUs that we found out that they aren't current and, so MOUs by definition, any agreement with the city is, municipality is 5 years, which doesn't mean it can't be recurring. But we found a couple of them that either weren't executed or they were executed without going through council. So like one of them that we're visiting, just as an example, Pride Park. Nobody has any questions or concern about Pride Park, it's just that, oops, we didn't dot our i's and cross our t's.
Sure.
Let's go dot our i's and cross our t's.
Yep, okay.
But I know if you go to the front desk and
Yep.
ask them for the MOU for coal miners.
It's in a contract book and we just pull it out, yeah.
Because we have organizations signed it.
And that would be an active MOU, 2023.
Yep.
Yeah, they'll have, and they can look it up from the number.
2023, wasn't it?
I can't find the signed one, I just see a
Oh.
draft one that says 2023.
We can find it, because every book has an
Okay.
index in it, and what they can do is just go scan it and mail you a PDF of it too, so it's pretty straightforward. and easy.
Okay. Did you want me to include maybe some of the things that we know we're gonna do? Like, I think we're gonna fertilize it, pay for that once a year. Do you just strictly want what we're asking the city?
Go ahead and include both, that way we can say, like, look at all the good stuff that they're doing too.
Well, that's what, like, I didn't know how
Yeah.
big of a picture you wanted, and then.
It doesn't have to be like super detailed, but it
Right.
would be really beneficial to know, like,
Hey,
this
we're-
is what they're already doing, this is how they're playing their part.
We're wanting to put in 6-8 grand of
And
our
my
own.
guess is that another MOU matches language of, you're keeping the city informed of who
Yep.
you're doing it, and who the staff person is may change or may vary, so.
Yep.
So right now, our city planner is actually split between a couple of roles. There's some of the administrative stuff that I'm actually doing until we get an additional staff person. There's some of that stuff we use an outsourced city planner for. And so this, informing the city of what's going on, to me, that's one of those things that's probably gonna fall in my bucket. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna reach out to other staff, hey, Mike, concerns, questions. But the idea is, we don't wanna turn around one day and it's all painted bright purple stripes, and who said this was okay?
Yeah,
Or
Yeah.
neon blue.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, we were thinking, on upstate, we were gonna try to match the blue that is the red lodge
Yeah.
blue.
Right, and it just, but the difference is, we want the response from the city to be, oh, looks good, not, wait, what's that and what happened, and who said they could do that? That's what we're trying to avoid.
yeah, exactly.
And then, to wrap it up for you then too, I know there was a question, our insurance is through, the National Little League, and that will be in place. If I get it done tonight, or, it'll be this week, but it is, they insure us based on the number of teams we have. So once we finalize how many teams, then I just hit submit, we're insured.
The MOU just
For all that.
says that you have to verify that you are insured.
You provide proof of insurance.
So,
Yep.
And do you know, Chelsea, oh, no, you just started too, never mind. I have heard talk, I have not seen it, Rod, you went to a lot of those meetings. Do you remember that, if they ever finalized the change from 1 million to 2 million liability?
I think they changed the 2 million, but I wouldn't swear to it.
Yeah, I know there was
Sounds
discussion on it,
right.
but I haven't validated whether, but it's just the liability where the city is listed as an insured party.
That was,
I'm
that
pretty
was my
sure
question, city's listed as additional sure.
Yeah, city's just an additional insured.
I'm pretty sure Jody said 2 million.
So that's not standard for 501c3 teams around the nation. So I guess we haven't been asked to do that. We get our insurance through Montana, and then Montana turns and gets it out of a soccer association, well, not we, I'm not in that anymore. They get it nationwide, it's been 1 million, 2 million aggregate, but not a 2 million policy. So,
And like, I need to find, because like I said, I've heard there was discussion about that, and I would think that it would apply universally across the board, but I'd have to find
Okay.
how they did it. Is this effective now, or whenever we renew it, will now be 2 million?
okay.
yeah, that's important for us to know, because if we're going to Little League, and Little League is, it's the Little League database, Little League is insuring us, and they say we insure you for $1 million, now we gotta go find another $1 million policy on the open market somewhere somehow. That could be
Yeah, and
a little taxing
just
for me.
just,
But I can figure out how much we have.
Falls has an MOU with us, and they have a name of their organization, they have no insurance, so. It needs to be standard if we're gonna ask that.
Yeah.
into groups.
Yeah, it does for everybody.
Especially when you're sharing an MOU.
Yeah.
So we're kind of wrapping this up, how do we want to proceed? I hate to be completely system and process oriented, but do we need a motion from this board tonight on this action? Sounds like it's going to go directly to you. Do we need to attach a motion by this board process?
Just for good practice, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, just
Okay.
motion being that, planning board recommends that,
Recommend to the planning board.
recommend to the, or not to the planning board, but to the council, review of baseball field expenditures.
That formalized, otherwise it's just rumor. You know, they talked about this.
I make a motion that the Parks Board recommends putting forward requests for funds from Little League be submitted by Royce this week.
Sweet.
What day is it?
Just put to be the.
If you email it to me, I'm gonna forward it.
Get two days.
Yeah.
And Roger and Sophie.
Yeah, I basically have until noon tomorrow to, like, put it on our discussion,
You don't have to.
but you don't have to give me all the details at noon
She
tomorrow.
needs the supporting docs before Tuesday morning.
That would be great.
Go back to
Okay,
the other
can you
one
say
and
that
just revise
motion?
it.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So,
Motion to.
I'll see, I might be able to.
Well,
recommend
we
to
have,
the
we
city
have a motion made.
Okay.
We have a second?
Wait, the
Second.
secretary needs to.
That was like a lot of motions being said at the same
Okay,
time.
you want to restate your motion?
Please.
I make a motion that, Parks Board, recommends that, or we support Little League putting forward a request for funds to the city for maintenance items to the ball fields for
For the
consideration.
ball field.
Consideration.
Good motion.
Seconded by Rod.
Got it.
All in favor?
aye.
Alright.
Motion passes. Great, thanks, Royce.
Yeah,
Whatever that was.
okay.
You're under the gun now, you gotta get.
Thanks
Well,
for coming to the meeting.
yeah, right.
Exciting, all these things.
Start charging these other 8 members for
It's
my.
nice to
Now
hear
you have,
those
now you have a
programs.
job to do, we'll even let you go.
Yeah, right.
I'll give
If
you a
you
call.
want.
Yeah, yeah. And I might grab one other board member to come look and
Sure.
one of the I'm the paper guru, I got a couple of baseball gurus that have a better idea.
I can get,
Okay.
I can give you his number.
Hmm?
Well, I gave him a
Oh,
call
you already
already.
did, okay,
So,
thanks.
all right. Well, thanks, guys, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys, have a good one.
Thanks for all your work.
Okay,
Thank you, guys.
The next item is park needs. Now,
So what are-
Matt, did you want to explain?
Sure, so I guess the park needs and the budget are obviously very intertwined, but I was thinking we could go through that second spreadsheet that's, just has like,
That one?
yeah, that
Yep.
one.
So-
And just do like, we could, and we don't have to do it this way, but what I was thinking is we could go through this list, add and subtract things from this list if people did that this month.
So I make a recommendation, since we have Alan on the phone and Mike's here, that maybe we switch.
I'd really like to do this on the budget first, because we know we're gonna talk about the grant, like, it's, otherwise the grant's gonna take the whole meeting, and if that's okay.
Okay.
All right, we have, what, 35 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, we'll
Yeah.
probably go past 7 anyway, but
We need to go through this.
just like a really brief, if people have their park needs ready, and there's a couple of parks that still need,
Okay, so I
owners.
first wanna just, I make a recommendation that we consider having Grizzly Peak paint and stain moose trails and utilizing the invoice or the estimate that they gave us, because we've been talking about this for 2 years, and we just need to have something done, and unless Public Works thinks that.
What's that?
Okay,
It-
so this was in our, Madeline got this estimate. So we have, a children's play park.
The one I was just talking about.
Yeah.
So it's to sustain everything over
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, and he said he would nail, screws in, nails,
Do some
replace
repairs.
things, and,
So I think it's gonna end up being more than that, with the repairs. but I wouldn't think it would be more than 10,000, since he says 6,000.
And so the part of the question is, the question, Mike, as I see it is, A, is it in the budget? B, do you wanna do it? B, do you wanna outsource it? And,
I think outsourcing is a good idea.
Yeah, I think so.
So
If
we
it's in the
could,
budget, I
we
think-
could see what the budget
Yeah.
is,
Yeah, I mean, if we,
if we
I'm
have it,
guessing, I
I'd say
haven't
do it.
looked at the budget, but
But-
a lot of our budgets are sitting
But
pretty good.
just to reiterate, what I understand is we have the parks budget that is like the parks board, it's not the parks board to spend, but it's the parks board to
To
recommend
recommend.
what to get
Right.
spent on, and that is separate from the public works parks budget
Mhm.
that the
Okay.
public works department
Well,
spends
you-
on.
If you
spends
guys
on
have a
parks, is
budget, you
that-
wanna do it,
Is that what, is
Yeah.
that right?
Public Works doesn't
That
have a problem
seems
with it.
accurate.
so this, well, and so the board can't spend money. So it's, you're
That's what
spending
it
the
is.
money based on their recommendation.
Yep,
But they
Yeah.
have their own budget?
we have our own budget, but we don't have the authority to spend money.
They have budget items set aside for parks.
Yeah.
So they don't have a budget, Parks has a
So
budget.
what do we have left for 2024?
56,000,
So what's
much?
happening with that?
$56,348.88.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Public.
that's the park.
Could
That's the budget that we
That's
recommend, yes.
budget right there.
But-
This isn't the whole parks budget.
I think that's
Public
the
Works.
remaining part that has not been
But
spent.
not the public works budget
So-
to spend.
I make a motion that Madeline gets an
I'm gonna have to
update
dig into this.
on repairs, and that we have that out of there. Okay. And we outsource it and get it done.
We make it past tense.
And we have it done before June 30th.
Now, that's an estimate and not a bid.
Right,
Right,
well, it's a,
After putting oil on Field School Park,
you think it's getting more
he
than that?
doesn't have enough oil.
That's
Gonna
good,
suck it
yeah.
up like a sponge.
well, it's gonna
35
be,
gallons sounds like a
the
lot.
park will have to be
It's
closed
not.
for a while too,
A couple days, I would think, what
Yeah.
did he say?
depending on weather.
Yeah, he said 45 hours it would take him, so at least a week. So it'd be good to get it done soon before.
So do you want to put a up to limit on the motion?
I think we should say up to like 10,000
Okay,
on it, because I think he's short personally.
okay,
So we gotta prove that,
You want
and then
to
he
amend
gives
your
us the bid.
If we're gonna do it,
Yep.
let's get it done.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do it right, so we don't come back. We're
I make a motion that
$2,000 short.
Yeah.
Madeline
done.
requests a bid from him to include some repairs and maybe, consideration of $1,000.
Not to exceed
Well,
10,000.
if it helps, I think Willie could come, we could do the repairs
Yeah.
Okay,
and take
Yeah.
the repairs
And-
out.
And going back to a process standpoint,
Okay.
in my mind, this is already built into the budget, the council's already approved.
Right.
This is, we're now on the execution side of this,
yep,
where I
We're
say,
spending
Mike,
money.
make it so, and it's done.
yeah.
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 Yeah, it's already been approved.
All right, any further discussion on the motion?
So you're motioning to request a bid from Grizzly Peak and Stain and tell them we have $10,000? I mean,
Well,
No, I
no,
think
no.
ask for it, but we were approving up to 10, not to
Well,
exceed
and
10 for that
I
to
think
come
we
in.
take, the repairs aren't in there, right?
Not really.
right,
Yeah,
but do you
we make-
really have time to do all
Mhm.
those repairs? Because there's a lot of things we have on the request from Public Works.
Well, I think, maybe I'll just look at the rest of your list. here.
Yeah.
Literally, like, it's gonna be 45 next week, and
Mhm.
we're not plowing snow, we're not doing a whole lot, we're Cameron sewer lines and stuff. Willie's not doing a lot.
Oh.
He loves to be busy.
Yeah.
That'd
Yeah,
be, that'd be
keep that
awesome
man
if you guys have
busy.
time to get to that.
Yeah.
Heck, yeah.
You guys said he's gonna have to prioritize
I
it, but
love
that's
it.
called everything.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So in the
Thanks.
motion, let's say excluding the
Yeah,
maintenance
we'll
performed
take
in-house.
care of
by
the
He's so
repairs.
thorough, he'll go in there and nail it.
Yeah,
Shut, yeah, that would be awesome.
yeah, that's wonderful.
It's just a matter of probably put some screws in here and there and.
Just
Yeah.
some.
I think
Missing
really
board.
the motion or the recommendation from this board is, we are identifying Moose Trails as something that we want to prioritize, understanding that we may run out of time and effort and money at some point in time, but we want this on the top of the list.
Yep.
Yep.
So you want to read back a motion?
Moose Trail.
I'm,
Did
we
replace
vote on
a
it?
few of the really bad
Just to
ones
turn
last-
that into a
last
bid
fall,
and maybe just ask him
but
to,
there's still
you know,
that.
we may need to pay for more stain and oil that's in there, and
what's the total number?
6,030,
6,040.
yeah.
So it's,
And-
linseed oil, paint thinner, tape and masking materials, and what is consumables?
Consumables.
That's
Oh, like
Probably
trash,
brushes
yeah.
and rollers. and-
Oh,
Yeah.
I might make the recommendation that your motion is just to move forward with this, and then that's just a sub-step and do it.
Yep.
Right,
Move
and we'll
forward and
just
get
tell
it
him
done.
that public, you guys can coordinate with him.
So let's have,
So,
let's have an
this-
amended
so
motion.
This weird thing like this now, I
Anybody
take
second
this
it?
and hire, get him and have him
We got
do
the
it.
motion?
You don't
You
have
got
to
the
do
motion.
it, so we
You guys
can,
will do it.
right, right,
Second.
because we already have the
Yeah.
money from council, like, I can just call him and have him send it.
We can't
Second that a motion?
No, he would send his invoice to the
She
city,
moved.
or that's what we've done.
She moved it.
Yeah, essentially that comes through to us writing our
Second, Rod?
I second it.
Okay, we got a second, any discussion?
I didn't hear the motion. What,
We got.
Withdraw your last one and just make a new motion.
Yes,
yeah,
I make a motion that Parks Board
move forward.
moves forward with hiring someone to create a bid from that estimate, Grizzly Peak or whatever their name is, and conduct the staining and painting of Moose Trails this fiscal period,
so you're,
under this budget.
The only concern is if you said Parks Board, so Parks Board doesn't get, yeah, so Public Works.
We're making the
you're-
recommendation that,
yeah,
Yeah, so Parks Board makes the recommendation.
right,
yeah,
that's what she's saying, I think.
but we can still, like, I can call him and be like, do this, send your invoice to the city, right?
No, I don't.
You
Why don't
can't.
why don't you let me do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause we'll.
Yeah, and I think that's a good question,
Okay.
it's good clarification, you can.
Make the motion
I
that
make
our
a
cleaner.
motion
That.
that
Public Works, move
No, wait,
forward.
one
Yep.
kinda
You recommend, the Parks Board recommends the Public Works to make this happen.
Yeah.
Yep, boom,
there you
done,
go.
great.
Second.
Rod
Okay.
We can
seconded.
do it later.
So you're gonna, so I don't need to call him back, you're
Nope.
gonna
Nope.
call him?
Nope.
It's all in his.
It's
It's all in his hands now.
I'm so glad you're here, Mike.
Okay, so that, we need a vote.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Alright,
We got it done on that one.
Huzzah!
Okay, so should we just go down the list
Yeah,
here,
let's go ahead and
starting
go
with,
down the list.
real
We do
quickly
have to-
before we
do
go-
have to watch time here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interest.
Just real quickly before we go down the list of priorities, can we actually look at the budget and see what has been done on this?
Mhm.
Cause I see an expenditure of 23,651,
yeah, that's what has been spent, but we don't actually know what
what it was
What
spent
is,
on.
yes, because these
Okay.
itemized ones
Okay.
aren't, don't add up to 23, it's that, this wasn't tracked.
Okay, gotcha, that's what I wanted to know,
And we
so
have
that's,
ever worked on this.
okay.
Nobody's sitting here worked on the budget.
Really? Right, let's go forward on the
Creekside?
park meetings.
Okay.
Do you wanna go live?
Yep,
You wanna go
I
park
think-
by park
I think we
and
should.
have the owners?
Yep.
So let's start with Creekside Park.
Okay,
To Madeline.
Creekside, I did hear back from Great West, they have, they've done a survey, they're now doing hydrologic and, they're doing studies to see what the next steps will be for the armoring project in that area, including park rehab. So nothing right now, but a lot more to come, hopefully.
Yeah, that was,
It's on hold for us.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
what's and this, we had a short conversation that got cut short on this today, but it's basically, there's engineers and people way above our head that have to sign off before we get to do anything. And part of the discussion was that there's some people who think it's great and it's wonderful and it saves us, there's other people who think it's a liability. And so the answer is, from a city perspective, we're gonna be bound by whatever the engineers and professionals tell us.
So, and the,
Engineering.
That task order 27 or whatever.
Yeah.
and Great West is gonna, hopefully keep Parks Board in the loop and get input from us in the planning process once they get through the initial.
What I can share with you is that Mike is gonna be involved, so you guys can express an interest to him and keep us in the loop in there. Because,
Yeah, I can be in between Great West and you guys.
So a question about funding, is this a FEMA funded project?
there's some, so we have several task orders, I think most of these are FEMA based, so.
FEMA's managed right now.
managed and funded.
Is that FEMA micromanaged, is that the term? And then-
Yeah.
Well, they'll
So
micro,
more to come on Creekside,
that
anyway.
comes with it.
Okay,
All right, dog park.
So that's
Nobody
Sarah.
here for,
well,
Sarah's not
I
here.
was just there this morning.
You were okay.
The burn pile's been burned, that's done.
Okay,
Or just burn pile, they
Yeah.
pop up.
They do them pretty
Occasionally.
regularly,
Yeah, yeah. I don't know about, the ditch cleanup, there's snow there now.
Yeah, that's summer.
Fence looks fine. I
Can we
think
give
we,
Mike one of these, is there an extra one around?
I might have an extra one that I,
I'm fine.
Okay, so
Wait,
we can,
Mike?
This is
We
one that
need-
Willie keeps a pretty good eye.
Yeah.
I would say this is his pet project, but then somebody would have to go, boom.
I was already there, I was ready for
Everybody's
it.
waiting
we
for that one.
need,
When I first got
more
here, Willie
dirt
took
on
me
the
to
bridges.
dog park first.
Okay, more dirt on the
And we
bridges?
walked the whole
Do we need
perimeter
bark
and he told
dust
me all
or
about
dirt?
it.
Just dirt.
Okay.
I'm very proud of the dog park.
So we need more dirt on the bridges.
More dirt on
It's
the
gotten just scattered, maybe, I don't know. Particularly the one where you go into the dog park and all the dogs are on the other side of the fence, waiting for the new dog to come in.
And is it supposed to be filled above the corrugation, or does it need to
I
be
think
cleaned out so it's corrugated?
I think it's supposed to be
I think it's
filled.
supposed to be filled, otherwise that'd be
The
terrible on
dogs
the cause.
would, yeah, the dogs would trip on it, so, and people would too.
So, these, I would say we can move off a dog park, because they're usually really simple things that we work with Public Works, and, it's like, we need another trash can, or
Well,
we
it
need
looks like
this,
most
Well-
of it's kind of cleanup anyway.
and we
Yeah.
have
We just need more dirt,
Okay.
so, I mean, I'm just saying.
more
Since Sarah's
dirt where?
on the bridges, since
Oh.
Sarah's not here.
Okay.
That's
To cover
something
the
that we can,
culverts.
yeah,
Okay.
to cover the,
With the ditch
The
cleanup,
corrugated.
that goes on,
And-
that goes
and
on
Mike,
throughout the
that's
summer.
Yeah, you're
Right.
doing a
Yeah.
lot of work.
And that's
Because there's a
Right.
lot of water that all of a sudden comes down.
Mike,
Exactly.
that's an item the
Constantly
department
pulling
can look
stuff out
at.
of the fence.
We'll look at it.
okay, thank you.
Okay, Finn Park, it has my name
Somehow
on
they
it.
got angry. Well, the-
Finn Park got hammered by
Our
a
job.
flood. I think we all
Yeah.
know
Yeah,
that.
I'm waiting till Mike gets on board too, because we were talking about this.
Okay, and so,
He's got attention, now go ahead. He's talking about Finn Park.
Finn
Oh.
Park,
Okay,
as we know, Finn Park got hammered by the flood.
right,
Mike and I took a look at Finn Park
right,
on, Monday, wasn't it?
yep.
As, when we went over and looked at, Rotary Park, I think Finn Park really needs some overseeding, and needs,
Didn't it get,
Serious
like,
clean,
sand,
It needs
didn't it
serious-
get sand dumped all over it?
it got sand and
Yeah.
silt from the
Yeah.
river, but I think it really needs seriously, some overseeding. I'd recommend using kind of some native grasses that would require less maintenance, because it's a lightly used park.
Yep.
It's not an athletic field by any means.
Nope.
It has an aging overstory of cottonwood trees, and those.
Those scares me from a
they-
liability.
They need
Yeah.
protection from a liability standpoint. Needs some probably hazardous pruning, needs to be conducted in the park. Long range, I think that needs some new trees brought into that park, to
We
grow
just
up
happen
underneath
to
those
have
trees.
some maybe.
We may have some trees, and I think that'd be a good place to do some, reforestation after this
And,
flood
yeah,
in Finn Park.
I think if that's one of those things that budget allows, that seems to me like one of those things to outsource.
Definitely the hazardous pruning.
That the hazardous pruning, I think,
Yeah.
outsource somebody who's a specialist in
Do we
that.
get a bid on that from somebody, so we have some
We-
numbers?
I think, yeah, we'd have to go through if Public Works would put together, just like anything else they do, we'll go through a bid process.
Like,
But Mike would initiate that and start.
yeah,
Yep.
we had a lot of
Which
the same
Mike?
issues in Shoto, 'cause we had
Mike Maples.
massive oak. You saw
One-
the
one
cottonwoods.
thing is
Mike.
Huge.
They make your cottonwoods look little,
Yeah.
but, and they're not anything we could tackle.
I
So
think
we always just worked with guys, and we do what we call chop and drops, where they just come in and in 2 hours, they put it on the ground, then they'd walk away.
Yeah.
And Public Works came in, and that cut our costs in half.
Yeah.
And in this town, the public would show up and once you got it cut to firewood size
Yeah.
pieces, it would disappear
And that's what,
automatically.
that's what we did there
Yeah,
too,
the
is we,
minutes can
the
be
big,
recorded.
just getting the branches off.
And you could actually work with the Community Foundation on that too, they do a firewood program.
Somebody else and like.
Oh, do they?
Should we move on to McGillen and
Mhm.
Airport Trails?
Mhm.
Any any comments on McGillen? There was a comment about the trail going up, the McGillen Trail. at
So on the
last
list-
meeting.
On the list right now, we have trail damage repair, the trail's pretty rutted out and
I think
needs
we got
repair.
property issue things that have to be solved on
Seems
that
to-
first.
It
Yeah.
seems to be a problem with property issue at the
Nope.
very top of the trail.
Mhm.
Encroaching
Yeah,
on private
Virginia
property.
Cross
Yep.
is gonna be,
Yeah.
and I did talk to
Whereabouts is
Virginia
that?
about
Do we know?
that being
That's
her
the trail that
parking. She'll
goes
do what she
up
can.
the west bench
I'll
from the.
cover-
No, where are the property
I'll cover
concerns?
for her.
Here,
where
let me
she
pull
can.
it up.
Well, I've got it up here on the big
Something
screen, tell me where to go.
I just got, I have cadastral pulled up, so that'll
No,
actually show.
no, but I'm saying, but yours isn't projecting, is my,
Oh, fair enough, I'm just,
Find the
16
pavilion,
Ashland.
you know, at the top there
oh,
by the
okay,
airport.
yeah.
And then I think we should be able to see it from there.
South,
I don't know, I just
here's
know that
Airport Road,
Courtney-
here comes the
I
pavilion.
think the main
here's
thing was
the
wanting
pavilion.
to make it at a better grade, right, and then that, therefore,
Right.
it would have to.
So this is the area we're talking about?
Yeah, this discussion came up at the last meeting. Nick from
Uh-huh.
BRTA was here.
Yeah.
And there was discussion about, my impression was as the trail gets up to the top, up by Arrowhead Road, that somewhere in there, the trail is kind of encroaching on private property.
Yep.
And it seems like kind of a minor area.
Yep.
In terms of size, but there's still an encroachment there.
And I think
Ooh,
Courtney,
that whole building is showing up as being on private property.
Which building are we talking about?
The brown at the
Oh, no,
bottom
no,
of that, or is that?
No,
Oh, this is the pavilion
no.
here,
no,
okay.
no, we're talking about,
That's pavilion there.
On that
Private.
map I just made to you yesterday,
Switchbacks.
it shows where that trail he's talking about is
Oh,
on
it's right
private
here.
land.
it's right here. So it
Yep.
comes down here,
Mhm.
and this is
yeah,
all
so,
damaged,
Right.
right there.
Has this been brought up as a concern by the property owner?
no, well,
BRTA.
I think there's multiple property owners involved, and it started when the city wanted to make the trail at a like straighten out the trail so that it was
Mhm.
at a more manageable grade, so it
Mhm.
wouldn't get as rutted out. But I don't know all the
So where I am
details
showing
either.
on cadastral that is a problem is when you come down this hill right here,
Mhm.
that this part of the trail right
Yep.
here
Mhm.
is on Kramer's property. So it actually cuts right across the end of it. So the property goes like this and
So
the
the
trail goes
lower
right
end of
across
the
it.
trail,
Yeah, the lower
Right
end of the trail.
there's a trailer that's kind of parked, there's a little, a parking spot right off the trail, there's a trailer sitting there. I wonder if that's,
That's at the bottom.
that's at the bottom, maybe
Yeah.
that's what he's
Yeah,
talking about.
so it's,
No,
it's the
that's-
hairpin,
right
we're
here.
talking about needing to fix the hairpin.
Right here.
So does anybody know what we need to do?
Yes.
Yeah.
There was a property exchange in the works.
Huh.
It was
I'm not
with
sure
the
that
city.
that's the one that it, let me see if,
Yeah.
because this is cadastral that comes up in here.
So maybe, I think instead of like going
Yeah.
into the
Yeah.
weeds on this, we just, someone,
Table it.
yeah, we need to look into it more, because we're not gonna solve it.
yeah,
I think we need to recognize it's a future concern
Yeah.
and move on.
just
I
identify.
I have to say, I'll step up for Virginia on this one,
Okay.
because she may or may not be able to do her part.
Okay.
So is this
thanks,
So
something
Rod, you're
you,
gonna be
you're gonna
the
take
park owner on this?
Okay.
Yeah.
is that something you'd wanna look into, Rod, or is that something we should leave to the city to look into more?
I think I
Or
can look into it, but I'll
BRTA.
just come to the city.
Yeah.
Say, what's happening, guys, yeah.
Yeah,
And
That'd be
BRTA
great.
too, 'cause
Yeah.
they're-
But
And
I-
one thing I'll add, just by way of information, and shut up and pass it on, cadastral wise, if you ever have a question about, go to the county and the city recorders, they are the
Yep.
Bible.
Yeah.
Cadastral is not the Bible.
yeah,
Okay.
Okay, Pride Park,
we don't have an owner for it.
we don't have an owner, and we're looking at
So
bench
there was,
upgrades.
yeah, so there was a lot of discussion back and forth, and I think probably what we need to do is ask somebody from the garden club to come with a request.
Okay.
Cause it was like, do they do benches that are wood or benches that were,
Metal.
yeah, and there, I don't remember all the,
John was gonna take care of that.
Yeah, but
and he
John's
kinda
gone.
backed off.
yeah, so I think, table,
People
Okay.
that one.
yeah.
I did get an email from them today on some, a follow-up on the sign. They have no idea where the sign nailed to the tree came from either, so.
No smoking, okay.
Oh, about the.
I would bet it
about
was from
the-
someone in the garden
smoking
club
sign.
who was doing some gardening and they were tired of people sitting there smoking while they were gardening.
The report is that it was not, that they did buy the buttholes Isn't that what it's called, those where you put your cigarette butts, isn't that the buttholes?
I'm going to from now on, that is exactly what I'm gonna call that.
I think there should be a sign up that says no tuba playing allowed.
I
Madam, would you want to contact the
The garden club?
garden club and ask them to come to a future meeting?
I can do that.
And do they have an MOU with us, and that's currently, it's.
I don't know about
They,
them having
that,
an
they have an MOU, but it was one of those that was executed without direction to do so, so it's one of those we're fixing.
Okay, because I'm thinking that might be a good time to take a look at the MOU at the same time.
Yeah, because it was just executed last year, and it is actually already on the standing committee for
Okay.
this.
So let's move on to the skate park. Rod, that's you, you're
Yeah.
the skater.
Last meeting, somebody said I needed to get in touch with somebody.
I thought Chelsea was
on
gonna
this.
check in with.
Yeah, I was gonna do that, so I will put that back on my list to check in,
great.
essentially finding the contact info and reaching out about getting a fence put in place
Mhm.
there, and that is just
So-
clarifying that is what I'm
I,
supposed to do.
I think
There's a-
finishing the,
Slope.
finishing the
Yeah,
grass
Yeah.
down the slope. And then not necessarily a fence, but something to impede
Well,
people from driving up big
It
boulders.
seems like it should be a fence, but I wonder if we shouldn't try to get Kevin Bonk to come back in, who is the one that raised
I don't
all the
think it's
money
a-
to build the skate park, 'cause I know that there's this big bad thing, you don't fence in skaters, and I don't remember the deal, but.
I can,
Don't fence me in, huh?
I'll reach out
Talk to
to either Kevin or Ryan,
Wait, how about Jennifer Drinkwater?
I could talk with Jennifer, I could talk with several of the people who built on that.
Okay,
I also think I have the contacts of the people who built the park.
Wasn't the kind of the issue is that there needs to be some sort of there needs to be some sort of a barrier so that the lawn can be finished, and that marks the end of that and the beginning of the next,
Mhm.
but it has to be conducive with the nature of the park,
right,
Mhm.
like you don't wanna
including
put
weird
boulders
culture.
there, or, yeah.
So what is the problem? People driving up the slope?
No, so it's AstroTurf, but
Yeah,
if there's nothing there, it's gonna fall, it's not gonna last.
okay.
Well, it's AstroTurf except for the last 3 feet, which is,
At
which
the
is on
bottom.
someone else's property,
Mm.
yeah.
Oh, well, all right.
So it's
I
a
think we
bit-
need to get, we
I
need to
think
get
Kevin would
permission
do
to finish the AstroTurf, because it's on someone else's
Yes.
property. Got it.
Or change the border so it's not on somebody else's property.
Yeah, I think more so, again, might be,
I think Kevin should be consulted.
okay,
Okay.
someone have
And
Kevin's number
also,
that they can
that
send?
AstroTurf is very pricey, it was a $25,000 donation for what's there on now. So extending it is a lot of money.
Could someone send me
That
Kevin?
green,
Yeah.
oh, I'll give you Kevin's.
Perfect, yeah, if someone sends me that, that'd be great.
So you're taking care of that one?
Yep.
Okay,
Thanks.
very good. Let's
Thank
move
you.
on to field school. There's Rod again.
Yeah,
You
field
skated
school.
on this one.
To update Mike, we have a bunch of wood chips that were ordered. I don't believe they've ever been delivered here. They're still sitting with, they're already paid for.
Where are they at?
I've got that contact on my phone and I can get you that. But they need a home. Most of those chips, I think, need a home at field school. They're really dreadfully short wood chips. We ran out of summer last year for that.
But they're bought and paid for,
They're
they're
bought
sitting
and paid
somewhere.
for, yeah.
So,
we just need to
we
get
have
them
wood
delivered
chips.
and spread them out.
Yeah,
We have wood chips that are bought and paid for, but nobody knows where they are.
I do.
Oh, you do know where they are?
I stumbled on his phone number today.
Okay.
So that's all that's going on there. And that equipment over there was oiled last year, so it shouldn't need it this year.
Is equipment a fancy word for teeter-totter?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the top one is done, then
Probably,
playground
I know,
equipment.
everyone's been
The
The
other
mulch
thing
needs to be put
In
in.
that park are the tennis courts, and
Mm.
they need,
Yeah,
there was
that
a
is me.
$40,000
Okay. Share.
item, but it wasn't anywhere near what we need.
Mhm.
You're aware of the issue
So I'm
there?
not sure what the
No,
status is
we just got a
on.
new tennis court in Shoto, I know that.
Well, there's
we spent
a coal
$300,000.
mine under this one.
Yeah,
Oh, good
this
to know
one is
that.
gonna need it, they're sinking. So there needs to be some
Isn't
exploration.
my
So-
recollection that that's actually not owned by the city, that's some of
That
that's
is
owned by
correct.
city, right, Red Lodge School District.
Yep.
Mhm.
That is on them.
This is a bigger legal
Okay.
But there
discussion
was money budgeted for it.
be like,
And we're
maybe we
trying to
make
use
a
up
meeting
funds.
where we focus on it and prep
Like
for it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But it's a kind of a planner,
Well,
city council, I mean, it's
Mhm.
almost way above our head right
we're
now.
above our pay grade on this.
Yeah,
But maybe what we need to do is encourage the city to enter into some kind of discussion with the school district, how we can take care of their tennis courts, or how they can take care of their tennis courts. right?
Yeah, that,
I'm gonna follow her idea and say, the first thing we need to go is go pull the contract and the paperwork and see what it says
Okay.
in black and
All
white.
right.
maybe
Yep.
ask,
Let's-
or ask the city attorney to, I mean, I really don't know. I know that that Courtney was struggling with where we were headed with that.
Well, there must be some kind of agreement between the school district and the city on
Mhm.
regarding the courts, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe we can ask city attorney to research that.
Yeah, I think if we can have someone, or even one of the city clerks find that,
Okay,
then we can move forward from there, so that's very infant stages.
so let's move forward now.
in regard to the tennis courts too, the ground around there is in really bad shape, in the tennis courts and the playground.
So Rod,
That-
would you contact the city attorney about this? then, as the park owner?
No,
No,
No, I don't think so.
no, I think we.
I think we're at administrative stage and we
Yeah.
count on the mayor
I
has
don't
to
think
know.
that's right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You say the-
What are you saying about the dirt around?
the dirt around the, between the playground and the tennis courts, it's really, really bad shape.
how
What do you
so?
mean?
What's it
You've
mean?
got
Like
erosion,
it's
tremendous
eroding,
erosion
it
there,
needs to
yeah.
be raked back out, Bobcat, it's bad enough to need a machine.
Mhm.
Okay,
By the tree
The
also.
sprinkler,
When
yeah,
it goes by the tree, it's all worn out.
yeah, the
Yep.
sprinkler system in there is literally hanging out on the ground. That's in really
So
bad
if,
shape.
if you guys wanna take kind of, providing a summary and write-up of kind of the condition of it, I have an action item of pulling the contract and reviewing it with the city attorney to find out who it, once we know what's bad, whose job is it to fix it?
Okay.
I have one more item at that park, and that's the trash can. I had a hard time opening it, and it's little kids from the Boys and Girls Club trying to get in
Because
there.
it's bear-proof.
It's bear-proof,
That's heavy.
it's
And
people.
human-proof.
This rod-
Is it just when it's frozen, or it's just always difficult?
It's pretty
really a
rough,
bummer, and
yeah.
it's really tall.
Mm.
So when
There
I was
needs
talking to
to be a little-
Boys and Girls Club, they said if there's anything we can do about the trash can, that would be awesome, because it's little kids.
Smaller one that's easier to open.
Yeah, it's a
Or a-
nice can.
Or
but-
a step?
I've never tried to open it, I just drive by and kind of wing it over the top of the car. No, I'm kidding.
Roger,
That was you.
anything else in that
Also
part?
say that one's
I think
completely full of
that's it.
gum
Okay.
all around the
Fit in
edges
the
for the
park.
kids.
Okay, so let's move on to, Rotary Park, but I think we're gonna pass on that one, because we're gonna be talking about Rotary Park
Right.
here in some more detail, I think.
Exactly.
Van Dyke Park,
Okay, that's me. Let's see. The observatory is built.
functioning?
Yes, I believe it is.
It is functioning, I don't believe they have the certificate of occupation yet.
Occupation, yeah.
The path where Northwestern rutted it out really needs to be regraded with like a bobcat, like you were saying.
Which should be
Yeah.
Northwestern?
Northwestern is
Yeah.
doing that this
Yeah.
year. It's their responsibility.
So
Not
Mike has been
completely.
made aware of that, we picked up some signs as a conversation starter. But it's basically, part of their contract is to
Rehab.
leave it as
Rehab
they
it.
found it, and it ain't.
Yep.
Well, somebody has driven in there recently.
That's the contractors for the observatory that should.
No, they
be
went
using-
straight down the
When you say
line.
recently, you're talking 2 weeks ago?
Yeah,
That was me and Mike.
you went straight down the power line?
We went down the power lines and
Okay.
picked up signs and looked at it all and talked
Okay.
about how the power company needs to
Okay.
come in and fix it, so.
Okay,
That was me.
Did you
Um,
picture that trail that's rutted up, the one we drove down?
yeah.
So we drove down the road and walked back the trail.
Okay, well, anyway, that's good to
Fix the
know.
ruts in the road.
Yeah,
Yeah, not only that, they're supposed to replant sage
Yeah.
and rabbit brush
Yeah,
and
they should be
things
doing
that are in there.
replanting.
It's, we all wonder if it's gonna work, but
yeah.
they supposedly are gonna do it.
Yep, it
Um,
should be done.
Part of
The-
their contract.
The interpretive,
That was a walking trail before and they drove
No.
down it?
no, they
that's-
created a new
The
road.
power poles that were to the right, this is the same thing as tied to the flooding down on 22nd, when they went in and disturbed the
They
hillside.
created a
and everything.
two-track with their equipment.
Mhm. They cut the,
It
well, they,
just needs to be-
they pulled the fence back,
Doesn't
yeah.
say they can drive
Um,
like that.
The, interpretive sign, I think it needs a new cover. It's
Yeah.
all kind of crazed and hard to read. So we need a new cover on the interpretive sign that's there on the, I guess that's the east side.
Mhm.
Yeah,
There was one other item, there's supposed to be a small culvert put in where the walking trail enters into Van Dark.
Where it drops
So
off
they
there?
could have it wheelchair accessible.
oh.
And that's not.
Yeah, I saw that on here. I
Is
wasn't
that
sure
the,
what
the
that was.
entrance is where the
Yeah.
single track trail comes back up to the road, that entrance?
Yeah, it's right in the corner, right at the crest of the hill.
Okay.
So the path comes up briefly onto the road and then you can go
Yeah,
into Van Dyke.
yeah, and there
And
was
you,
talk
it
about
drops down,
making
yeah.
that handicap.
Hmm,
It has
okay.
not happened.
Anything else with Van Dyke?
Let's see. No, I do have a capital request, I guess.
Okay.
I would like one more bench,
Okay.
at the trailhead, you know, in that area where, by Remington Ranch, where you come in. I think that would be a great place to have another bench, so, okay.
Is that something we can, just tell Mike that we need a new bench, or do we need?
Yeah, I'll
Spend
look
some
at
of our
the
money
budget
for
and
it.
see what we have.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
sweet.
Okay.
We probably got.
Mike, you got that.
Okay, I'll look into it.
All right, Coal Miners Park again.
Okay.
Yeah, shoot.
So there's, this is kind of a weird list that's on here, so.
We can just start over and get rid of,
Yeah, I would really start over, so, Mike, as you get on board, we can talk about it, so this is a new sports field, and me and some volunteers are mowing it and taking care of it. We asked the city to provide funds for some fertilizer, and it was like $1,000 last year. And the well is, we paid to put it in, but it is a city well that's at the bottom. And, we set up the sprinklers, the city blows them out with your public works contract with Baldwin's. That's all working really smoothly right now. The one thing that the previous public works person really didn't want to do is help improve that road that gets up on top, because they thought that that would encourage people to drive on it. We need to go up there to blow out the sprinklers. Sometimes we have to deliver gold.
You need maintenance.
We need maintenance equipment. We don't have it to be a place to park. It's not for, but somebody might use it if they had a grandma and they wanted to just go up to the corner and drop somebody off at the sports field.
Okay, 'cause I was gonna ask, is this an improved road, but put a chain across it so that not everybody uses it?
We don't put a chain across.
Well,
You don't put a chain across there.
Or a sign, or
It's-
something?
We can make it fabricated.
so
Is
without
it the
getting
dirt
into
road?
like the real history of this, like that, I'll buy you a coffee sometime, but because the school built a landfill when they built their new football field up there, so we get more runoff that comes down that two-track now because they created another watershed, basically. So instead of it all going over to the school, half of it comes off there and runs right down.
So
And
the
so-
problem isn't just the road needs fixed, the problem is the source that keeps killing the road needs fixed, and then fix the road.
Yeah, that's a long discussion. Yeah, you know I have, like, heart murmurs over this. So, so it was, if the city had some, we were even talking about, like, if we had leftover gravel from the public works, you know, if it's clean, relatively clean, just smooth it out. Because it's really like, I have a 4Runner, but sometimes I go up there, I don't know if I'm gonna bottom out on it, because it's really rutted out.
Does Mike have your number?
We will now. 'cause we're-
Okay, so
Yeah,
you guys talk and go and have, this sounds like an on-site
right.
conversation.
Half of it is on school property.
School again.
But it doesn't matter, because they need to be able to get up there too.
Beth,
So-
when you did this, when you contact me, I'd like to meet you.
Okay, that'd be great. I mean, I think we have, a pretty good working situation up there right now. We are waiting, so we have this whole signage thing, so I guess I would put on here signage right at the top. So we were, talking to our new Shoto Fish, Wildlife, and Parks guy. They're redoing signs. I don't know if you heard about this, but, he would really like us to see more signage in Red Lodge saying, you know, hey, this is Grizz Country. And, that park is kind of a corridor. And so,
And we had them there last year.
Mhm.
yeah, and so we have them every year, and so we're waiting to kind of hear. We did go, we spent a lot of time talking to him. He doesn't want us to be like, oh my gosh, there's Grizz in the area, and then shut the whole park down for 3 months. He said, that's not what you do. You call them, and they do their job, and they push animals along. So we came up with a system where we would notify, like, okay, who in the city, probably be the mayor, but, and Public Works, you know, like, if we have an issue, then there's people that need to know that maybe the school and the parks need to be notified. There is a problem here, and right now, you know, but anyway, signage, and then we were also gonna have signage just redone there because the sign that's over in the corner doesn't match with what's on the field anymore. So, there was gonna be some funding taken out of our budget, and I think we have it, but I don't know if it's gonna happen this fiscal season. Do a bunch of, identify in all of our parks, Van Dyke Park needs a sign that says Van Dyke Park, right?
Yep.
Or
And
just
we-
identification signs.
And
Yep.
it would be nice to have some kind of a uniform sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a sign, don't we have
Um,
a sign?
The city was gonna
Yeah.
put signage up there like, you know, dogs cannot be on the sports fields and things that, you know, we need to remind people of.
Has there been talk, when they've talked about those signs, about using the design that's already been approved by the
That-
chamber
That
and
they
used on
want
everything?
you, oh, the chamber?
That's exactly it.
That-
Has anyone talked to
Are
Sherry
all
about
of our
wayfinding?
wayfinding signs, why is it not gonna match those?
Yeah.
I think it's.
No, wayfinding signs may do fine for park notices. This Grizz thing would be a FWP sign.
No, I'm talking about, you were talking about the identification signs, like you're now in Finn Park, that seems to me like a wayfinding sign.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think they have a very large budget for wayfinding.
I don't think it's that big, but we have access to the pattern and the design and
Yeah.
the everything else.
Yeah.
So
Just make them smaller.
I think that's like
Wayfinding
maybe
signs are too big.
we need to have like a
He's
little
talking about the
side,
4-foot ones we're getting ready to put in.
I think one of our
Too
to-do
big.
items, put it
No
on the
more.
agenda and spend some time where we don't just, because we did it all last year. Signage, every month, signage. Get it done.
Make it real.
Make it real.
We want to sign this dimensions, it says this at this
We,
location.
and you're right, we
And
have
it'll
we
cost
have an
X.
approved way to do it, and we have needs. Let's go through the parks
Well,
and
let's
try to
put
get that
on
done.
the future agenda, and maybe we can take a look at what the
I-
chamber has for
So,
signs.
so what I think what you do is somebody here reaches out to the chamber, but based on the comments that I have observed, once you get that, pull in Mike so that he puts, so we have a lot of signs that aren't too big, I'm editorializing now, but we have a couple of big, huge ones that we have to have new breakaway, MDT, a whole bunch of stuff, and I think, could be wrong, but I think that's what Mike's grumbling about, is
No,
the
they're
big ones
huge.
coming in.
They don't need to be that big and they're problematic, the wind blows them down.
I don't
Right.
mind.
I mean, that's just
But
not.
I could talk to Sherry, I'd be happy to do that. I'd be more than happy to do that.
Yeah, and then,
And I-
and then the request is,
That's
before you
the
finalize your budget, pull in Mike,
That-
and then just make it a reel, so it's an action item.
Okay.
That's it.
So I guess,
You know.
not only on coal miners, I think we need to,
Oh, no,
like,
sign.
sign. We need to check where we are on signage
Yes.
for our parks
Yes,
and, 'cause a lot of people don't know that Van Dyke Park is Van Dyke Park.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
I didn't know.
I didn't know. We just
Yeah.
called it the path. or
And
the-
I think what it is we figure out what the cost of one is going to be, and then we figure out a
Yeah.
strategy for how we can start implementing that
Yeah.
across.
And that doesn't necessarily be everyone, I forget what the real name is, we always called it Useless Park, up behind the, there's like a slope down above the trailer park that's all up on the hill that you have
Oh,
to-
yeah,
You
yeah.
have a 1.5 foot wide area, I don't know that we need a sign for
No,
No, but like
but-
some of our identified parks that have signage, that have usage, and then we can identify a list of priorities of who needs to get it
Yeah.
sooner than
Yeah.
later, and we figure out what that cost is, and then we can build it into the budget likely for next year,
Yep.
and see what our budget, and it might be we do one that's a kickoff one for this year, and that's our first test run sign.
All
Yeah.
developed parks should have signs.
Yeah, agreed, yep.
There you fix it, all developed parks, I'm good now.
I have one more, maybe a capital thing, this, I guess we're talking about that,
Is this
but
for coal miners?
it's a sign, yeah, so my husband and I went up there, and you've got this great, panoramic view across town and to the mountains, and we're like, what is that peak, and what's that peak?
Oh.
That'd be fun,
So it would be
Great
nice to
idea.
have a sign that, just, it told people,
Yes.
what they're looking at.
That would have been really nice before somebody put up there that you're on a man-made dump. I don't know whoever.
Look out for glass.
I don't know who approved that,
But there's even a bench, already there,
Yeah,
we
that's
sat on
a
the
great
bench,
idea.
yeah.
and we looked, and we're
Somebody
like,
did it.
And that
we
could-
know
standing on a
Grizzly
man-made-
Peak
This
and
could be a
Mount
full
Morris, but,
phased approach, where we could do
Yeah.
phase one,
Where's-
identify the
where's the
park,
thing you're
phase two,
referring to?
identify around the park, like,
It's at the northwest corner of Shelley's Field, the soccer field. So, I'm just gonna put out there that we don't want to put too much, you'd have to put signage on the perimeter and not be in the play area.
Well, no,
And
this
we
is-
have
there,
frisbees,
there was a bench there.
yeah, but there's a lot of trajectory things that go on up there. So I think that would be great, but
and again, come summertime, when we actually wanna go walk around some of these parks, we
Mhm.
can actually
And
go around and
there's a
identify
couple of different
locations.
spots, those panoramic informational signs would be kinda cool, if you're over on the,
Yeah.
if you're over on the west bench
Mhm.
looking
Yeah.
out over this way.
100%.
Well, and that's what you
The
have
interpretive side
in
of
Van
Dyke
Dyke
Park
Park.
is really nice.
I mean,
For
it
coal
talks
miners,
about
did you
what
get
you're
the
looking at.
pushing the wood chips into the playground there?
Yeah.
There's that
Yeah.
big
Oh.
pile of wood chips.
yeah, the one that was in the by the ball fields is a yellow pile.
Somebody
Yeah.
said, what's that brown thing?
That would be a
Into the-
great thing for Mike to
into
do right
the-
now.
Into the playground that's
Poor
right
Mike.
there.
Playground.
They're
Not
like
Willie
right,
can do
Willie.
yeah, they're right next to the playground. They just have to get pushed in
Okay,
there.
so now what are we talking about? Is this?
Go
minor
back.
park?
This is
Coal
still.
miners.
I'm trying to get my fingers to work, my
Okay.
fingers are broken. I was gonna go back to the ballpark.
And that's the chips are going to,
The play-
No, these are chips that are
Oh,
for,
you know what, go to coal miners, 'cause then I'll just point real quickly so
they're
they
chips
know.
for coal miners, and they're at the playground. They just need
Okay.
to get pushed into the
okay,
playground.
for the playground there.
Yep.
If I can do it this way.
Thanks for hanging in there, Alan.
We're gonna get to you here, buddy,
No.
sooner or later.
Oh, yeah, but keep it out so you see Shelley's, okay, so that road we're talking about, Mike, is right here,
Okay,
okay?
that's the maintenance access
Yeah.
road you're talking about?
This is, yeah, and so this is the new thing that the school got away with murder doing, that never got approved by the city on city property. That I have heartburn over.
Runs up
Yes.
the hill next to the school.
It's a coal landfill that they got to make without any approval. So we're talking about that pile right there, it
Where
needs
does
to
it
go there.
Oh, that's
It needs to go on that little,
Yeah, there's
Playground.
not even a fence around the playground. It's really just how to get.
Pushed
Yeah.
in there.
Anything else on coal miners?
Let's keep looking.
No,
This is the
let's
name of
move
the
on.
company.
Okay, we're gonna move over to the Lions Park now.
Keep looking for.
Okay, so we already talked about moose trails,
Uh-huh.
Yep,
and then nothing with Red Lodge Ice right now. We'll wait and see if they propose anything
okay.
new.
Do we have an MOU with them too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then on the back, we have, Highway 212, is that the roundabout?
But yeah, the traffic
The
program.
traffic
Oh,
signal?
that's me.
That's you.
I think I identified myself as that.
I'll keep looking for.
Um,
'cause I know I got it.
They can take off the TBD.
There's a TBD on that. As of right now, so irrigation plan, it looks like, besides, is there a reason we wanted one aside from Pro Cuts?
I think there was just identifying issues with it, like it
Okay.
wasn't, I think it would be best to talk to Amy about that.
Okay, gotcha.
No, but-
And then
Unless
just
you do
routine
them all.
inspection.
How's the water?
Bleeding.
Yeah, so I mean, right now, there's not a whole lot I can identify with that
Bit
until
of problem.
snow's off the ground and semis aren't driving over the top of it, so
Right.
like,
Uh-huh.
The Rocky Mountain Compost.
Do we have any sort of, sign, my understanding is that is not a public free-for-all, put your garage sign.
Oh.
Well, is there a city signage policy
I think that's
regulating those?
that's MDOT, isn't it?
Yeah,
Not a Parks Board
Well,
problem.
no, but it's,
right.
MDOT probably owns that, traffic circle, don't they?
They
And I
do.
think, they have their rules and their rights and stuff there.
Fair.
So we just go in and meet it.
Well,
Okay.
so do we really
Yeah.
care if it's their problem?
I don't, I like the fact that there's
I couldn't-
signage there to promote things, but
Yeah, not.
that's a personal thing.
And there's sometimes it doesn't bother me at all, and then there's other times when I
I'm not sure.
see, and I wish I could think, but I've seen stuff that's not, I have a garage sale going, and I'm not even talking signage. There's been, just, I can't, like, weird stuff, you're like, what in the heck were they thinking?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've seen like advertised events there and like, again, garage sale signs. I've seen a lot of random signs that don't seem appropriate for that space. But again, as they mentioned, that's, do we have a good contact at MDOT or do we have that policy?
We do, I just, do
And
we
then
want it? Is it something we ought to be enforcing?
No.
As long
That's
as
what I'm
they,
asking.
I don't
As long
think
as
park
they
board
encourage-
should.
It's not a park, it's not a park.
No, when I say we, I meant we, the city.
I'm not so sure the city
So Highway
ought to be
212 gets
involved.
added in here, it's not actually a managed park.
No, 'cause we're the Parks, Trees, and Recreation Board.
Yeah,
Right.
There you go.
And I think at a city level, if we wanted to be working in partnership with MDOT and if we got complaints at a city level.
I didn't know it was a park, and it sounds like it ought not be.
Well,
It's not a
I don't think
park.
it's a park.
It's not, it's part of the, it kinda got added in when we were,
With the
became a
tree
bee
board.
city, and then the trees, maintenance of the trees along the edge.
Somebody had to take,
Amy took it upon her,
yeah, take
yeah,
control
she
of it.
took it as a volunteer project, and Mike certainly could speak to the trees, but I guess one thing I would add is if we do want to have volunteers that are associated with Parks Board work on it, the one thing that always gets me is I think we should do something about the cheatgrass, it's all in front of the Chamber of Commerce.
Hmm.
It's like, you know what we have that gravel area?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just, it looks really bad, and it's our entrance. So if we wanted to work
parking
on
area?
something, I don't know whose job that is,
I-
but we kinda did it as a volunteer project to pull weeds, and we could,
And the
But
boy,
that almost seems like public works, just right of way along the side of the roads.
yeah,
well, it's probably MDOT property, but
Yeah,
they don't
it's well,
they don't take
yeah.
care of it.
Yeah.
Well, the middle is MDOT, but I think over by the chamber is us. 'Cause we
Sidewalk?
the city actually owns that
The
building.
sidewalk,
Okay,
who owns the sidewalk and the,
I don't know where the chamber is on Broadway.
that's the
old
cart
log.
off the rack, is the, when you come into the roundabout,
the
little log house on your right
We're-
with
we're
the
done.
mining cart that's not on the
Yeah.
tracks.
I think we need to
Cheatgrass
move on.
is in the
Yep.
right of way of the highway.
We're straying from the traffic circle,
That's MD.
and we have two other
Yeah,
items we
talk
gotta
to
get
Amy about those roundabouts.
two?
Well,
Okay.
we have the budget.
Usually our meetings aren't this long, though.
All right, let's move
We've
on.
got some new folks here who are.
Yeah, so for budget, I guess, I mean, we talked about a lot of it, I guess I was just thinking for that, since we have, yeah, any other requests?
When is the budget due, our budget request due to the city council?
ASAP.
yep.
So we will
Are we
finalize,
late, or are we?
pardon?
Are we late?
No. So the new budget will be so I would say by May 1 for next fiscal year, and our fiscal year goes July to June.
Okay.
So the money that we've been talking about here is the stuff that's scheduled to be spent before
Already
June.
approved.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then you should have your request in or your recommendations in. And I'm thinking out loud here, you guys argue with me. I'm thinking that you guys put together, and again, this is the benefit of having Mike here, you guys put together a benefit and recommendation, and it goes to Mike, because the budget request, I'm gonna be working with department heads on a
Okay.
budget. I'm not working with a Parks Board on a budget.
Okay.
Tell me if I'm wrong or if I'm.
No, I think-
Well,
I think the planner-
Parks budget's under Public Works.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Parks Board
the
doesn't.
last few
they can't
years,
have a
there's
budget.
No,
been
you're
like
right.
this $80,000 budget. It's just been like, Parks Board has
Just budgeted
$80,000 put in this fund, and, you know, I've only been on a year, so I don't know. I know in past years, we've never not used money.
But Courtney was managing that money
So
aside
the planner
from.
was,
So
the planner was managing
The
it.
committee have its own budget and then Public
No,
Works.
the
has a
committee
budget.
does not have a budget, that's what I'm saying. So, but there was staff, there's Public Works, there was also a planner, and a lot of the park stuff
The plan-
previously went to the planner.
Parks out of
And,
Public Works.
and one of the changes we've made is it makes a lot more sense having the guy who has the workforce have it in their budget.
Yep.
And be our staff liaison.
This to me is really confusing. I mean, we have $80,000 that's
It's
allocated
confusing to me.
in a way for the Parks Board. We don't have any,
Stop, so there's $80,000 allocated for parks, period.
all right?
Not parks board.
The staff person who is responsible for that, you guys are an input to say, hey, we know you're busy and you're doing lots of things. Here's what we've looked at, and here's our thoughts and recommendations that we're gonna make to you, which then you go talk to the mayor and try to get your budget and blah, blah, blah.
The
Yep.
parks
So-
budget's in Public Works.
But don't you have,
Now-
the way,
You guys don't have a budget.
no,
No.
Yeah, they do not, so parks is a line item in the budget.
Yeah, so it
So let
seems to me like
Let Madeline,
it seems to me like if we come up with
wish I had
ideas
my
and recommendations of what needs to be spent to maintain, take care, and improve parks, we should be making that request to the Public Works
Yeah.
Department. Right.
so, Mike, you've got, according to this,
Is that a-
$56,000.
That's, you're right, no, you're right on the nose.
If you go and look at my budget, I think there might be more than.
yeah,
So let me make that
and
more
then-
generic, you
So-
should make you should relay
Matt-
your request onto the staff liaison. The staff liaison has changed between a year ago and now.
Yeah, but eventually that's gonna, I mean, that's
No,
gonna
it's
go
gonna-
to the Public Works.
Is staying with Mike, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
you're our staff
Roger-
liaison.
Right.
So before we lost the planner in December,
Uh-huh.
we had another position. And that planner ran the Parks Board meetings for those last several years. Public Works didn't come to meetings, the planner interfaced with Public Works. And there was a Parks budget, and then there was interface with the Public Works, and there were things that were, and like, I don't really know how it was delineated, but now, with us not having a planner in place, the mayor and the city council decided that we're under Public Works.
He's the staff liaison.
Well, and I think that's how it should be.
Right.
Well, I think
So we're just going,
that's the way
Right.
it was before, though.
No,
No.
we were under Public Works before, but there's two separate budgets. There's the Parks Projects budget, which was managed by the planner, and then the Parks budget under Public Works.
Where
this
Willie got
budget-
paid. Willie
Yeah.
See.
wasn't paid out of our budget, he was paid out of
So
your
this
budget.
budget is gonna look different than your Public
Yeah, I
Works
don't think
budget,
it's-
but it makes it's a lot simpler
Which-
if we
which
just
part?
send requests.
That,
Way
Yeah.
there would have been two budgets,
Yeah.
under the
Oh.
control of the planner, and that's.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
sit down and talk to Ronnie
I
tomorrow.
mean, it should
and
just be
I'll-
one.
Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
It was a mess.
Yeah.
I honestly can't tell you.
What it really boils down to is we have some maintenance budget needs, and we have some capital improvements budget needs.
right, exactly.
Done.
Yeah, exactly, and it should all be.
I'll give you one good
Because they don't like
example.
Public Works.
The bathrooms at Coal Miners Park needed to be blown out and winterized.
Uh-huh.
Public Works did it under their budget. They didn't take money out of the Parks budget to do that. They did it as a Public Works
Yeah.
effort. They shut the sprinklers down all around the city as part of a Public Works entity, didn't then take it out of the
Yeah.
Parks budget.
Yeah.
I can't explain why, that's just how it was done. That was one good example. It's
I-
on a park, but it was under a Public Works budget.
I said, I look at it more as maintenance and capital improvements is a better
Yeah,
delineator.
yeah, my thought would be the maintenance budget should be under his, in his bailiwick. It should be
So
under
we
his
have
department.
$56,000 that
One
we could
parks
spend
budget.
before the end
Yeah.
of June.
And that's it.
That sounds good.
That's the way
When you
every
say
other
that,
town does it.
And-
Mary,
and-
I think that tells me you have
And
somebody,
we-
hey,
Yeah.
you don't have,
We
you don't have.
just make
you don't have-
recommendations.
have
He
the
can
You
financial
can
authority.
recommend
Money
that
to
some of this
spend.
money is spent, he will choose how it is spent.
Exactly,
So let's move forward with spending the money.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm
Yep.
spending money.
Okay,
Yep.
I can
Thank
tell
you.
you that the request for funds coming from baseball could be upwards of $20,000.
Okay,
Now, they gave us one that was kind of about 30,000, but he threw a whole bunch of stuff in there, like paid 10,000 for the gravel and all of this. There was no bid, there was no actual invoicing or estimates. It was some wish list numbers that got, and Courtney asked them to look at ways in which they could cost share some of that with the city. So let's just say that it might come in 10 to 20. I don't know, but I'm gonna say that might be what we see from them. Doesn't mean we pay for everything, but for me, looking at it, if we have the money and baseball has not received, those fields have not received anything really in a long time, we might consider that that's a feasible way to use some of those funds.
Yeah.
We got
I agree.
6,000 going moose
Mhm.
trails, or maybe up to 10.
Has anyone, Nick was here last meeting, but he didn't have any specific budget
Mhm.
requests. Has anyone reached out to BRTA for specific reimbursement requests? Because usually we're able to reimburse them for,
Yeah.
not
They do.
we, the city is able to reimburse them for,
This is from McGillen.
for all, they
No.
do a lot of work on all the trails.
Yeah, all the
over
trails.
The trail you walked around.
We
on
have
top,
separate
that's
conversations, I have, but like, if, so we have conversations going on with them, and have conversations, Cody have conversations with them. It's not per park say, it's like I said, yeah, we're gonna do this, will you provide the materials, we'll provide the labor, is that what you're talking about?
Well, usually at the end of the year, we've had, I mean, usually I say like the past couple of
That's what
years,
he was saying.
there's been enough funds that we can reimburse BRTA out of the money.
I can add that to my follow-up conversation with you.
And I should also point out that we've ear tagged for the last year and a half, we ear tagged that 40K might have been used to rehab the tennis court. So when we look at, 56 didn't get spent, 40 of it was gonna maybe go towards tennis court repair. So really, it's like we had 16 that we hadn't really thought of yet. But now the tennis court thing has gotta go back to the drawing board, so.
Okay, so let's move on, except that,
Rotary
I guess what I'd like to have for my own understanding is, you're saying that we should have a budget recommendation to the city council ASAP, maybe May 1st.
So
Yeah.
by May, you should have it's not to the city council, it's to your staff liaison.
Very good, yes.
And then I work,
There's something you want in it, you tell me,
Yes.
we'll work.
Yes,
figure it
you're
out.
right.
and my conversation with them is, what does our budget look like? And that basically happens from May to August, and then council approves the budget and says, no, shift some this way or shift some that way. But the mayor builds the budget, and then council approves it, and then the mayor executes on that budget.
Yep, I'm glad you made that point, I stand corrected, we should submit a
Yeah,
budget to Public Works.
I'm gonna submit the parks budget
Yeah.
from the Public Works Department to the council.
But what I'm getting at is,
With
we're
your
in,
recommendation.
we're in March right now.
Yep.
We have April, and then we have May. So do we want to have a budget determined to request to your department by our meeting in May?
I think that, I would like to look at the budget and put it together and then take your guys' input after you look at that.
Okay.
So,
That
okay,
sounds
And we have until
Some numbers.
August finally.
We have another chart somewhere where we put together requests. For instance, like I know Falls asked for like $1,200. Soccer asked for $1,600. We have some things that we know were requested.
I think it's just in the minutes, but we could put it somewhere else.
No, it was in a chart that Amy did, a table, so I probably have it somewhere. But anyway, yeah, we should look at that at a meeting.
And my guess is there's probably been, we know about this, we know about this, we know about this. There's stuff we haven't identified yet, let's throw in 80,000 and see what happens. But I think what I've liked about this meeting, particularly the first part of it, is it's been real action items. Moose Park is gonna cost us $6,000, you might be wrong, it might cost us $10, it doesn't matter, do it.
Yep.
It needs it done, and that, I think, and so those decisions are ultimately his, and he accepts direction from me, but the input and telling us where to focus and where it looks, that's what you guys provide.
Yep, well, I want to make sure that I understand, what our role in this budget process is.
Yep.
And,
So my thought is similar to what we just did, is we had our list of wants and kind of went through and prioritized and like, okay, what information do we need to actually put a hard number to this or a number that we can give to him? Are there certain things that we can do right now that we find a priority? Yes, those action items, he's doing it. So that's what I did here. All the stuff that's in green, that's action, we're moving on it. All the stuff in blue needs more research. All the stuff in yellow, is a hold process, didn't really go into further discussion. So for those items, I think that's how you start to build out what we want from him, is we sit down, we have our priorities, we have that ask list, and then we start to break that down. And then within that budget, also putting an opportunity budget. So when something pops up that we're like, man, we really need to get this fixed, we didn't know about this when we were doing our budget, we have an item area earmarked for those last-minute timely requests. So that's, to me, how I would start preparing for that budget meeting. And again, we need to start prepping for it. I would honestly recommend that our entire next meeting goes to that. Every person comes back with their list. We have also on top of that, regular things that are constantly budgeted in. So for instance, talking about maintaining water supply and those types of resources, things that you can always have earmarked and put in there. And it's like, this is gonna be a part of the budget and forever and always. If we don't spend that money now, it gets moved into opportunity.
And just to be clear, that budget we're talking about is from July 24 to June of 25.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, right.
So I'm just gonna, like to just share a little bit about what we did in Shoto with
Okay.
our parks.
Yeah.
Please do.
And we've been Shoto, and we have a lot of parks.
I drove through there one time.
And we do a lot, like last summer, we did our tennis courts for $365,000. We built a bandstand in the city park for live music, all covered, really nice. But the way we did all these things is we have our budget, and then we have all these groups, just like you guys. Lions Club was the big ones.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, hey, we really wanna do a bandstand. We can throw whatever, 50,000 at it. What can the city do? And then we would work that into our budget and say, well, we can do, and a lot of what we did was, well, we can do a lot of the sweat.
Yeah.
You know, we can do a lot of dirt work.
Mm-hmm.
You guys buy the stuff, whatever, but we got a lot done that way.
Yeah.
And the way we worked it budget-wise was we figured out what it costs to do our parks, maintain them, whatever. And then what we had left, then we went to groups and said, he doesn't like this, but we usually, that's what we said, we want your wish list, we want your wish list, we want your wish list. And then we took those, and we said, okay, this year,
Prior
the
to.
Lions Club wins.
Yep.
This year, the pool wins.
Yep.
This is what you call the wheel of fortune.
Yeah, well, it's, how much money you got, where it's at, you know.
Yeah.
And again, what they have
And
in
it,
commit to
worked
it
really
as well,
good,
whereas the team
and
has.
smoothly, we got a lot done.
I like that.
Mike, looking
I
at,
like that a lot.
looking at what you
That's
did in
what we
Shoto
did.
and what
That's what we
you
Yeah.
have here in
I
terms of
like that,
budget,
you know.
how,
I haven't
how,
looked at the park.
okay, well, I was gonna ask you, how finely itemized is your budget for park maintenance?
Up there,
No, here.
I don't know, I
Okay.
haven't, have to be honest with you, I've spent most of my time looking at sewer and water and
Okay, yeah.
streets.
How finely
That's
itemized
public
was
work.
it in Shoto?
What's that,
How finely itemized was it in Shoto?
for the maintenance stuff?
Parks.
You know, it was pretty broad, and we tried to go heavy on things in case something broke, or we had a bad windstorm, trees went down, whatever. We'd have line items in there basically for salaries for people to mow.
Right.
All the same stuff you guys probably have, you know, supplies, fuel, blah, 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 blah.
What
Stuff
I
for the
guess,
bathroom.
what I'm getting at, if you have like do you have an operation and maintenance budget where, let's say that we know that we have to spend X amount of money on maintaining ball fields, infield material,
We had sprinklers in there.
all that kind of,
So one of the things we've done that's kind of backwards, but I think it's in line with that, what we've done is we've said, we're hiring a person out of resort tax that his reason for existence is parks. So we didn't say this is what he do, blah, 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 but there's a staff person
Yeah.
who's paid for from parks. So now the ongoing maintenance and stuff is tied to that. So that's not finely itemized at all. That's a person, use them for purposes.
But he was in the Public Works
What?
budget.
Yes.
So what I am hearing is we're gonna do things a little differently than they were done.
I think
Let
So we're
me
creating-
rephrase it, let's
Right.
do it the way that makes sense I
right?
don't care if it's the way that was done, if it makes sense and it's
the way
good,
Well-
by the
I'm
rules.
doing it is the way we're talking about.
Yeah, and
I
that's
can't
great.
wrap my
We're
head
gonna,
around what
we're
you
gonna
think
figure
you're
this
doing.
out together, because these items over here, these would be things that the planner would go talk to the public works person and say, hey, these are the things the parks need. They weren't out of the $80,000 budget. They were, Willie goes and
Willie
does
budget.
them, or city goes and gets more trash cans. That, I don't know where that money came from. It came from public works.
No, there's trash cans up there, so we can get it.
Okay, but you know what I mean? There were things that got done because they were maintenance, and they came out of public works. And then there's things that are maintenance that are very, very specific to parks. This is, we're gonna work this out.
What, we
I
need
guess,
to work it
'cause
out, because I,
We
you know,
haven't in the past.
The goal is at the end of the summer, is everybody who walks through comments on it, and everybody who lives here says, oh, this is wonderful. I haven't seen this sort of upkeep and maintenance on parks forever.
Yeah.
Right, that's our goal. That was the goal of the last mayor, that was the goal of the mayor before that.
That should be the vision.
But let's just do it.
Right.
Well, it seems, you know, and I
Yep.
don't want to belabor the point, because we got people, we have
Yep.
another big
Yeah, we
item
gotta-
up here. But at the same time, when somebody from Little League comes and says, we don't know if our electricity is working or not, that to me shouldn't come to this board necessarily. I mean, or it could come to this board, we just say, please take a look at it and fix it. That should, those kind of things
I think
should
that's
be
a
budget
city
items.
thing, and the
Yeah.
city will
Yeah.
look at it. Now
Yeah.
they know, they
And
didn't
just
know.
get it done, you know?
Yeah.
I guess, let me rephrase what I heard him ask. Everybody has a park, and I'm gonna turn to you. Do you want the designated person from every park to just be blasting their request to you,
No.
or do you want them to come filter it through the board and then
I
come
think
to
if-
you?
I think if somebody, if you're down there and you see something bad, or somebody at the ball field says, man, we got outlets, and we don't know what's going on, they should call me.
Yeah. I mean,
And-
that's just me.
And Willie will get on
Yeah.
it, or I'll get on it, or something.
And, you know, Dave, I think maybe kind of what we're talking about,
I mean, I don't think we need to go through a whole chain of people that tell
No.
somebody the crap.
No.
we're kind of talking about the
Yeah.
difference between capital projects. You could have minor and major capital projects. Minor could be replacement of benches that are worn out, that type of thing.
Or new one.
Or, you know, for new ones, major ones could be scoreboards at the ball fields, you know, that type of thing. Those should probably come here and brought that awareness to here, so that we can, you know, forward that on to Mike and eventually approved by the city council. But some of these things like, chips, wood chips for playgrounds, you know, that type of thing, that would just be built into a regular reoccurring maintenance
Yep.
program.
Yeah, well, and in fairness, I think the benefit of having him come here is, this is a mechanism, but if you see that it needs done, and he's not objecting to reaching out, and the response is gonna be, I will prioritize that on my list. So understand, hey, we got some chip spread, I'm sorry, I got a busted sewer main, that's gonna
Sure.
require my cycles first.
Priorities are priorities.
But yeah, we're trying to streamline this to get things done.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
in Red Lodge, we don't typically pay for things like user group needs, like scoreboards. They might say, city, would you go after a grant with us? Or
Sure.
we're gonna
Yeah,
fundraise it on our
I
own.
was
We
using that
don't,
as an example.
yeah, we don't typically pay
Yeah.
for things like that. We can't.
No,
They
but,
can help with maintenance and we can help with labor and
but
that-
But that's why, that is exactly the reason why it needs to come through this board to the planning board and then ultimately to council.
the
And
planning
I'll,
board has.
I'll
to
use
approve the
a one that Alan has, solar panels,
Mhm.
that, you know, let's do 2 acres of solar panels. There's gonna be ongoing maintenance on that.
Yep.
I've gone out to Lamar Buffalo Ranch, I've been personally witnessing that for 25 years. They don't have it figured out. They're trying to run off the grid and use it and kind of sort of, so that's not something we dive into without saying, what is this, what are we signing ourselves up for in the future?
Yep.
That's why this process goes like this.
Yep.
Well, you know, in effort to try to get this meeting going, what I suggest is that, pick up a little bit on what you said. Chelsea said, depending on what we decide on this next item, I think the next board meeting really ought to be, you know, restricted to budget talks, to budget discussion, and if we move forward with the next item, that should be an item on it too.
Sounds good. Let's go.
Okay. Are we
Okay.
through with this?
Yep. Let's do
You have all
Rotary,
this down, Madeline?
Rotary
I
Park
just wrote discussion of logistics of how the budget will
being
work.
recorded.
I would add,
Usually sufficient.
I would just add that we need to update the bylaws, because they say the city council member is gonna manage the parks budget,
Oh, that's great to know.
There you go.
but we
Yep,
can
that
look
would
at
be swell.
Okay, next item,
next.
Rotary Park.
Rotary Park is gonna be tied into this.
Right.
next item.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
The next item is Arbor Day grants, and, Alan, are you still awake? Are you still with us over there?
I am, yes, thank you.
Alan does not sleep.
yeah.
You do look older though than you did about an hour or two.
I think I am.
So
Yes,
let's
I
kind of
just-
move- Go ahead, you wanna give a little rundown from me?
Sure, yeah. Briefly, this is the $38,000 Arbor Day grant. There's sort of an email string out there, so maybe many of you are already aware of this, but I have just like 5 little information updates. The first was the question about when and how they would distribute the money, and the implication would be that many nurseries would need like a 50% deposit to order trees. And we got good news on that. And this is, I'm reading quote, we pay the grant out on an 80-20 split. They pay 80% upon agreement signed and a copy of the W-9 and COI, that's insurance. And then we'll get 20%, and so that can be really soon. And then 20%, the remaining 20% would be sent after the event is completed. They've taken some pictures and kind of documented that it actually happened. And so that would give us some flexibility for giving down payment to buy those trees. The next thing, of the $38,000, fairly generous, $8,000 is allocated for non-tree funds, for non-tree expenses. And so that'll just give us more leeway in case we need to, for example, Roger, I'm kind of foreshadowing, buy more dirt to plant the trees or whatever. So that's a little more flexibility on the total funding. The next thing, based on the constraints of our latitude and our climate, probably June is going to be the best time to plant trees based on discussions that we've had and discussions with Mike Taylor. And Arbor Day Foundation said that Saturdays were typically a really good day to have a high rate of participation of the volunteers. And so we're sort of circling in on 2 dates, Saturday, June 15th and Saturday, June 22nd, as being the dates for these events. And it could be more than 1 day during which we actually have the Arbor Day celebration and also the tree planting based on just the fact that there's probably going to be a fair number of trees and it'll take time given the limited number of volunteers. And so anyway, we're circling in on the dates to actually have the event. Next information point, maybe Roger will have more information. I believe you might have been there on site. Recently, Mike Taylor and others, I think Mayor Dave and I don't know, maybe several of you in the audience actually went out to evaluate Rotary Park and kind of see what lay beneath the snow, to include the ratio of dirt to rocks. And preliminary feedback suggests that it's actually not a great spot to plant because much of the topsoil has been washed away. We have lots of other options in terms of places that we're considering planting, to include other areas that have been flood affected along Rock Creek. Someone suggested the Spires subdivision on, I believe, the northwest end of town. And so I don't believe, it doesn't seem right now that location is going to be a limiting factor, but Rotary Park may or may not be the only place that we're planting just based on conditions. And the last thing is we've gotten some more clarity on pricing of trees. Right now, it looks like Baldwin's locally is going to be the best place. Arbor Day Foundation, yes, you can order trees directly through them. They're pricing it out, but at first glance, and also based on some feedback that people in the email string have submitted, there might be some difficulties in getting trees from Arbor Day Foundation based on the travel distance and anecdotal reports of the condition of the trees they provided. But anyway, we're still doing that ongoing price analysis of where we would buy the trees from. And Baldwin's has been participating in this process and helping with us, but that's it. And so let's see. In order to get the initial 80% of the funds, where they need a signed contract, a copy of the city's W-9, which we sent them yesterday, and a copy of the insurance, which Mike Taylor, assuming he's the person / company to be doing the installing, he has already submitted a request to his insurance company to get that. So it looks like we're ticking off the requirements. We still have several months to go. While not all the details, for example, where exactly we'll be planting them, are figured out, at this point, I don't see any sort of fatal flaws in this plan, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you guys might have, but things are kind of progressing as could be hoped for.
Okay, I think there's some concern, Alan, about the timing of the project. You know, we're in March now, we're looking at June. We've got some systems we're gonna have to go through. We're gonna have to go through a bidding process, request for proposals, for equipment for trees and that type of thing. Do we realistically have time to complete the
Why do you have
project?
to bid things?
What's that?
You don't have to bid unless it's over 80 grand.
80 grand is the
Yeah.
threshold? Really?
That's the way that's the way we was
I
working.
think so for capital stuff, and I'm also, there's still, so I know that the grant is coming to the city,
When we've got Arbor Day grants
We-
up there, we just got the money, we went and spent it.
Really?
We didn't have to go through any,
what we'll need to do is validate with Lonnie, because I know we've been dinged on some audit things in the past that we haven't. I don't know if that was because it was capital or what the trigger was, but I haven't
don't think
seen
there's
that
a lot
as a
of hoops
concern.
you have to jump through
Okay.
to buy the trees, or to buy fencing, or to buy dirt. I think you just have to
So,
spend the money, have the invoices.
Alan, you're saying that 8,000 max is what you can use for labor, fencing, soil, everything, the 30 has to be used for tree price?
30K out of the 38 is the max, which we would be committed to spend for trees based on my discussions with Shannon Arbor Day Foundation. She has in the past said that there is still flexibility given that. But 8K over 38K is more than 20%, which is, as I understand, sort of a generous amount for the soft costs, I guess, other than trees.
Because that's administration, not, so when you stated it earlier, you stated in terms of not a project and administrative, you said trees and not trees. And so dirt is not trees, but to me, that would have been part of the 30K and everything we've talked about up till now, or fencing around the trees. Yes, no, Purple?
Purple, that's between yes and no. Yes, I can. They have communicated a lot of flexibility on that, but we have at least 8,000, which is more than 20%, not dedicated towards trees.
That's for dirt and fence and.
Yeah.
posts.
That's not much.
But by that, do you mean the administrative cost, or do you mean the fence to go around trees?
Oh, gosh. I'm not sure which category the fencing material would go into, if it's the.
Yeah, so my understanding up to this point has been kind of overhead and admin, and what you just said now of soft costs, that made sense. But a minute ago, as I heard, and I think you probably heard too, some of the things you were saying were things that we thought were part of the tree budget.
Yeah,
Meaning the tree budget isn't just for trees, and stuff needed for trees.
yeah, that was my interpretation.
Hard costs.
The hard costs, the
You
soft costs
Yeah.
were,
You can't just plan them
were
without
administrative
fencing and
costs,
Right,
staff
exactly,
time,
yeah.
Yep.
you know, maybe,
and dirt.
well, but.
No, there would be part of the 30.
Yeah, the dirt should be part of that.
I think your designation of hard soft costs matched what I have understood from the beginning of this.
Right, yeah.
Well, I don't
You
think
know-
they're gonna care as long as.
But in fairness, I got that understanding from you, Alan.
Yeah. As long as we're all talking,
The deer we had, like,
Let me clarify
Yeah.
the exact inclusions and exclusions of the 8K and the 30K, and I'll get back to you guys on the next meeting.
Yeah.
More
okay.
specifically, we're talking about like potentially hiring for labor, paying for dirt, and fences, and whether those go into the 8 or the 30 category. Is that right?
And I don't
Yeah.
think any of those are game changers, it's
No.
just we wanna make sure we're within the hoop. I think we're still moving forward, we
Yeah.
just wanna make sure we're within the hoop.
I actually see it as a game changer.
Does contracting
So,
still comes out
let
of
me-
that 30?
So let me give you sorry, but I have the engineering need to do this. So if we take 30,000 and we say an average tree is $100, I'm just rounding up. 30 divided by 100, we buy 300 trees. That 8,000 is what we have for everything else to spend. That's not gonna work.
No.
That won't work, because we need dirt, fence, labor,
Yeah.
and we're gonna need a lot more.
And the bag.
So,
Work,
Mulch.
yeah.
The
so
bag.
does the
Water
30K
Right, the water bags,
include the
It's about $50
trees
a
and
tree.
ancillary
$50
products that put a tree in the ground?
Right.
And the
protect it.
8,000 is the soft cost, which is labor, admin,
Event,
The
planning,
Right.
hors d'oeuvres, that kind of shit.
yeah,
And that-
advertising,
Any type of
whatever.
marketing, any type of promotional.
And I don't really.
Yeah.
And we just need clarification before we order trees.
Because, right, because
That's
we may
exactly it.
find that 15,000 needs to be this, and
Mhm.
15 is for trees,
Mhm.
and then Mike can say, okay, 15,000, here's what I want, I'm gonna get 60 of this tree and blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
But right now, I think that is a game stopper, because we cannot do this project for
Oh,
$8,000.
Meaning if the 30 is just straight trees and that's the only
Yeah.
cost,
Right,
it's a game changer in that we can't
Right.
write our portion of the check to make it happen.
right.
So I
Yeah,
think,
I don't think so unless
No,
city's
I
talking up all
don't
the
think-
labor
Yeah,
and the
no,
dirt.
so I think, picture it this way, Alan, you have a tree that's planted in the ground. That 30,000 should cover the cost of that tree, the staking, the mulch, the water bags,
the guy digging the hole to put the tree
the guy
in.
digging the hole, the labor to put that, the labor involved in putting that tree in there. If you look at that tree standing right there, we need to have the cost of that. And you figured,
Right.
what, about how much per tree?
Well, I figured the additional cost, and that's, would be about probably $50 per tree. And that's without labor, that's just
That's without
materials.
labor.
You're talking fencing, you're talking 3 stakes per tree, you're talking, fertilizers, you're talking additional soil.
The bag.
On top of the cost of
bag,
the tree.
The water bag
Yeah.
on top of the cost of the tree.
It's like buying,
And that's not including the planting. That's
it's like buying a car,
Right, right.
you know?
And to be fair, that's what my understanding has been throughout this entire
Yeah.
project. So if there's a change that needs clarified, yeah, we need to understand that.
Yeah, sure. I've picked up no indications of any change, except for that the original proposal included only 6,000 for non-tree related costs. Oh shoot, I'm using a new phrasing, tree related as opposed to trees. I guess it's just nightmares. I don't really know anything about trees, to tell you the truth. But I'm gonna get this down in writing as a response from Arbor Day Foundation to clarify.
Okay.
Perfect, thank you.
Because the understanding from, I don't know, I know, Mike, you were in a lot of those emails early on with Brian, because that overhead was always labeled as administrative, was kind of the all-encompassing, which is the soft cost.
Marketing, yeah, all that.
That's
Picking
what I
up
have
the
always
trees.
understood.
Some staff time.
Mike.
So Alan, I think maybe another thing that we could maybe decide here, I think you've got people that can answer this. It seems to me that we would plan to do our Arbor Day, plant our trees, and then get rid of the trees that we're not planting to people, and that needs to happen in June. We do not plant trees in Montana in September.
Correct.
So we need to put that to bed. That doesn't happen.
Yeah,
So,
and one of the things that Mike had called out yesterday while we were driving out looking at sites and locations is that he did not see that these surplus trees would fit into the tree buying program that we've done every year, because those are trees that people buy and there's money.
okay,
We should not commingle those two
Separate
programs.
Right.
separate.
Did I state that correctly?
Yeah.
That's the tree share.
So I
Yeah.
think you have your 7 days, because I don't know that we're gonna plant them all in 1 day or
Mm.
2 days. I mean, this is an ongoing thing, right?
Well, we were talking about not doing street trees here in town.
Okay,
It was
Yeah.
gonna be this program.
parks,
Right,
parks,
Yes.
flooded
Yeah.
now, spires. expires, how is that? That's not flood related, that would be the
That's
giveaway
Habitat-
trees?
Habitat for Humanity.
Those would be the giveaway trees
Well, they-
then, right?
Sounds like Finn Park could use some new
Yeah.
trees.
Well, and Finn was very and Finn was the one that we talked about yesterday, because that was very definitely,
Yep.
now, how that could factor in is if we need to go do the, what did you call it, hazardous pruning?
Mm-hmm.
That now needs to get on the agenda to get done
Yep.
before June, so that we're ready to plant those trees.
So where are
in
the
June.
other places that you're recommending to plant if Rotary's out? And Rotary is a gravel pit, so I don't see how that's gonna happen.
One thing that Willie brought up with trees was at the pool,
Mm-hmm.
those trees that are right along the pool,
Yeah.
I think they're honey locusts, maybe.
Mhm.
And they have all the
Tiny.
little spinners that come out.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Right.
Great choice for pools?
Yeah, it's a bad
should
fit
never
right
be
next to
planted.
the pool,
They
the
never
wind
should
blows
be
them all in
planted
there.
there.
Are they maples?
Remove
No.
those trees and
Honey
plant
locust.
some new ones there that are.
Does the grant funds have to be spent on flood restoration though?
No.
No, not
It
necessarily.
just has to be in a
Those are
flooded
ash.
community?
Alan, how about some clarification on that? You know, we're talking
Well,
about,
this is like a.
we're talking about replacement
Yeah.
trees that, are part of the flood mitigation, parks that lost trees due to the flood,
Well, I cut Arbor Day grant, but we could plan.
the
where we
riparian
want.
areas along the
That's a
creek,
different
to
one.
replace those trees.
Like it's 40.
But we also have landscape trees, and those be planted in any park. And we're also talking about distributing trees to the public. So can you give a little clarification on maybe those classifications of trees?
Sure. I have definite clarification on the first and the third of those issues. Definitely the thing that I think glowed in our the reception of our application were the need for trees along flood affected areas. And the third thing, meaning community tree distribution, they suggested that before it had even crossed my mind, that a significant chunk of the trees allocated to us be distributed to the community. And then I learned that that's actually how things have worked in the past. The second thing, though, whether we have leeway to plant trees on other areas where we just need a couple of trees, for example, along near the pool or whatever, I'm going to ask how much flexibility we have in allocating trees to that purpose as well, and I'll get back to you guys on that.
Okay. Yeah, one other, scenario that we talked about in planting was planting of willows, along the stream. I think you had 100 willows initially in your grant request. And I think you were talking about probably cuttings, willows, and placing the moist soil area.
Yeah.
That type of idea. If we're gonna do that, we have to do that pre-runoff, pre-spring runoff. I mean, when we get too far into June, and if we're in the height of runoff, we're not gonna be able to access those areas to plant those cuttings. That might be a May project.
Interesting. By the way, we had not requested any grants for that particular aspect of the project. That was some wisdom which Courtney kind of bestowed upon us. I don't really know much about there, but let me ask you this right now. Given the way things are, is that something that I need to ask Arbor Day Foundation for support for? Previously in our application, we had not asked for any funds or anything. We just kind of said that was something that we were able to do and would do to sort of supplement the overall project.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's interesting. So that really wasn't part of the $30,000.
That's right, yeah.
Requesting the grant. That was just
That's part
in
of the
addition to
plan.
this, that's what the city's considering. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Fun thing to do.
Yeah, because our height of runoff is gonna start in May, and peak
How's
until
that
July.
work? How's that work, Roger? You put the cuttings in before runoff.
Mhm.
Then
What
what
keeps them from
happens?
washing away?
Yeah, that's our
Then what
question.
happens?
Well,
They can handle the water, the flooding.
they can handle the water flooding. Now, if you go down to, run down when you have time to the swimming hole, is that what you call it?
Yeah.
The
Creekside Park.
Creekside Park, thank you. Look right across the river there where they've kind of revegetated that pole
Yep.
flag.
Yep,
And they've got the erosion blankets laying on there,
yeah.
on both sides. They've got probably 100 willows that are spiked into the toe of
And
the
they're
slope
cuttings?
there. Yeah, they're cuttings.
So they're not this tree price that we got from,
No.
this is different.
No. I did ask for a price from, what is it, the Montana Conservation Nursery?
Yeah,
for
to
tree
get
bulbs,
cuttings
for
or.
cuttings and that, and they said they didn't have them. They said all they had were aspens this year.
So, Alan, didn't at one point Arbor Day say they could provide willow plugs free of charge or something? Why is that sticking in my head?
In the original application, that was something that we said we could provide, as I recall, it's been a month or two and a half.
We would provide.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was ancillary details, but it was not related to anything we were asking,
Oh.
from Arbor Day Foundation.
Maybe that is just
Oh,
another
yeah.
project that we
So if
shouldn't
we
be
had,
concerned about
if
at
we
this
had
point.
5-gallon trees that are going in flood-related waters, where are they going?
Well, that's exactly what we need to talk about, because initially, when Mike and I did our little tour on Monday, we kind of thought that, we should focus our attention on Rotary Park, because Rotary Park was probably the most impacted by the flood. We had some concerns, and we went down and looked at probably almost an acre of that park, it's just
Right.
washed
It's
away.
gone, yeah.
It's not there
Right.
anymore.
And it's
the
big rock.
riprap that they put in is indicative that the edge of Rotary Park is not gonna cover the same footprint it did before.
No,
Right.
No,
Yeah.
that park is forever changed.
I
Yeah.
did talk to Chad about what we can do down there.
So just bring everybody else up, so me, Mike, and Mike went down yesterday, and also with engineering, and so Mike was doing some additional follow-up with Great West Engineering, who is kind of coordinating with all the FEMA stuff, so, take the floor.
Basically, they're done down there so right across the bridge on the east side where there used to be some picnic tables down there. And the engineer met with the Corps engineers, FEMA, and Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, and they're all the people that signed off on the permit to do the work down there. And this spring or summer, we can go in there, basically smooth that ground. We can't add any material to it or take any material away. We can add 3 to 4 inches of topsoil,
It's basically
And
a
reseed
soil
it.
top dressing.
but no more than 3 or 4 inches, and.
So the
Pretty-
sandbar
pretty-
low
pretty-
part is the new part.
That's the way it is, and I think they're gonna be pretty, that we're gonna have to stay within that.
Sure we
So
are.
the people that live there aren't gonna have trees in front of their house anymore? They're
Yeah.
just not?
The park is
Yeah.
down
Like
there.
Hayman.
Strip
There is a
along
narrow
there.
strip.
But
on-
Yeah.
across the
it's
road.
very narrow, and I think the tree species you plant there would be tricky, and then what's gonna be problematic with it is plowing snow.
Yeah.
It's gonna plow right on those trees.
Yep.
Cause it's not, I mean, it's
There's
from
no
me to her
shoulder, right?
to the boulders.
Mhm.
So you're gonna try and plant a tree like right here, and it's gonna be in a windrow.
Okay, so if we don't, so we have 100 trees, we're not doing Rotary
Well,
during this, where are they going?
we could probably still plant in Rotary, there's other areas of Rotary,
Yeah.
that kind of.
To the south?
Like, yeah, up a little higher, like in those
Up a little
parking
higher,
areas
where-
and that
you know
kind
where
of
the
thing?
trails run through, the kind of a cottonwood grove that's through there?
Yeah,
We could go in and do some planting in those areas,
and the purpose of that would be why?
just to add trees, just to add.
The other thing that would be important would be taking down all the dead ones that are there, so they don't wind up in the river again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There are dead trees everywhere, so that would be one thing that needs
which
to
would be
happen.
another
It'd be a
costly
cleanup.
project too.
Have you guys
Yeah.
looked at down below the high school at all, that steep slope?
Where they fixed the trail, where the.
Yeah.
Down to the river.
I've looked at it with a bunch of snow on it.
Has the trail been repaired?
Yeah,
Has it?
yeah, and they put like plastic,
I don't know if
and then
it's
the-
done.
what?
I heard it wasn't done.
That,
trail has
that,
been
that whole area
done
from the
here.
Creekside Park all the way down there,
Yeah,
but it's not ready to, it's not ready. The erosion on the banks is not ready for
no, but below
revegetation
the,
right now.
yeah, below the high school, they put plastic and then riprap, and then, like, some kind of matting, and then seeded it. So I assume that's not getting torn up again.
There, just for clarification,
Maybe we
Dave
should look at that.
might know this, is there, any more revegetation that's happening because of the, projects? Like the Rotary Park?
Are you talking about Rocky Fork property?
Yeah.
So somebody had just asked about that, and so I have a very, very high level of confidence that that is moving forward. However, my understanding, there's the disclaimer on it, is that we are not allowed to put anything on it that can wash away and cause damage to things downstream. So there's no buildings, I think I specifically recall them saying no trees. Things that have been done in other communities, they've like made it like garden spots for like, here's your row, here's your row, here's your row. So there's been a lot of exciting things done with them. But the basic overall overarching thing is nothing can go there that's gonna wash downstream and cause problems. So I think that my understanding at the time was that ruled out trees.
Okay, but on the other stuff, further south, is there any more revegetation that's part of those, the Wadsworth brothers? Are they revegetating anything?
My understanding, and I can clarify this tomorrow, is that,
We're doing that.
I think so.
yeah, they are done with their part of the project.
To take the cost from that and bill it back to the FEMA.
Okay.
I'm not positive.
So that's probably the same case down by the high school.
Yeah, and I think I think the city guys did part of that trail at
So,
high school.
so I think we'd
And
be able to
think they were
find
talking about
locations for trees. Do you feel confident in that?
That can be done, but will it fall under the Arbor Day?
So with that, we need to look at flood areas. One thing that we could also consider with that is those meridians between the sidewalks and the street, correct? So a lot of that Main Street area got taken out, and we had a bunch of that side area, like in front of the Yodeler, in front of all those homes right there, that could probably use more trees, right?
Yes.
Well, we've
Just
got,
like-
it's a city-owned property that's on the other side of Hagen, between the creek and Hagen, as you're heading towards Finn Park.
Oh, I think that's actually all public or privately
Well,
owned.
there's a weird little chunk of,
Yeah,
it's a mess down there.
Yeah.
So,
Some
see,
of
that's
it's
not
private, some of
DOT
it's
right away
public.
that you're talking about, because I don't know if we have, it might be DOT right away you're talking.
well, the same thing that we
I'm
were
talking
talking,
from about 16th Street to about 17th Street.
we're talking about something
Haven.
else.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the
Down
side,
by the Yodeler on
yeah,
the
so the,
side.
the dirt patch between the sidewalk and the road. The same thing that we were talking about when
I
it
think
comes
the
to the.
distinction is, if we're talking on Broadway, we need to coordinate with
Yeah, that's all.
DOT.
No, we're
Okay.
not, we're not
Use
talking
that.
Broadway.
If we're talking on Hagen and
You can
Platt,
have
then
the
we don't
floor.
have to.
Right.
Well, is that city-owned property?
That's, that's city.
I mean, you put a few.
Where exactly are you talking about, Chelsea?
I am talking on Broadway, I am talking in front of the Yodeler, and I am thinking that it's DOT. He
Yeah.
is talking down by the river, down by
Yeah.
Finn Park, two very separate locations. So, yes, his area
About a
is
block
city
away
owned.
from each other.
Right, about a block away from each other. So essentially, we feel like we can come up with places to put trees in ground. Finn Park might just become entirely wooded by the end of the summer.
I'm gonna throw this out too, and I don't think it's a problem, I think it's a good thing, but when we're planting trees in the parks and stuff, Willie would like to be part of it, 'cause he's the guy that's gonna be
Yes, you should
mowing,
be part of it.
trimming, I mean,
Yep.
once, as far as the placement goes.
Mhm.
Yep,
Yeah.
excellent.
That's right, because it's a maintenance concern.
'Cause, yeah,
Right.
'cause these, we're gonna be dealing with where these trees
Yeah.
are, hopefully for a long time.
Yep.
Well, and I think what I heard Chelsea saying is, in the interest of being able to move the meeting forward,
Mhm.
we feel confident that we will be able to find places to plant the trees within the guidelines. What we need from Alan is clarification of what those guidelines are.
Correct,
Yeah.
thank you.
And then, can we take a map, like, we just need a 2D representation, and it needs to say 10,
Uh-huh.
blah, 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 and 18, whatever, going there, and blah, 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 and we used up our budget.
So Alan, once we have once we have the information from you of exactly how we can utilize that budget, really get that hard clarification on those soft costs, and then gain that clarification of what the flood area or what the impact areas have to be and how those are represented. Then we can take it to Mike, he can start getting together a bit of how much it's going to cost for each one of these trees. We'll have our
Yep.
identified land, we'll start plugging places into the ground with Willie's consent.
And maybe we can have that information all put together for the next meeting.
Perfect, April 3rd, good.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and bet and hope we have it even sooner though.
Yeah,
Just because we're gonna be accepting that money to make it
yep.
going at that point. I did have one question in the conversations with Broadway or Baldwin. one of the advantages of Baldwin's is they have the ability to get those trees in and store them, I'm presuming, on their site until such
Yep.
time as we're able to transport them.
Right.
That was included within that.
Their prices were a lot better than Billings
Their
too.
prices are
That's,
good.
yeah, that's what I understood. What I understood was everybody was pleasantly surprised when we got our bid from Baldwin's.
Yeah, as long as you don't get their labor.
So let's kind of wrap this up a little bit with a little bit of a discussion, action item of what we're gonna have for the next meeting, what we're gonna do from here on. You know, I would volunteer myself, and if anybody else would like to help, looking at sites, potential sites for plant trees, and Mike, maybe you'd like to help, maybe we could have Willie.
Yeah, and I
Be
would
involved in that?
suggest that if you guys get, as you work through and say here, here, and here, come up to the Public Works office, and we can just put it, Dave can test. We can put it all on the computer, on the aerial photo. We have super sharp photos, 'cause they flew right after the flood.
Yeah.
We got 4K video
Yeah,
at
we
it.
have, we have the best imagery I've ever
One of
seen.
the
Yeah.
So we can literally go in there and
I
We
have to
can
bow
put-
out.
Okay, that's fine.
put trees
I gotta-
in
We got
there.
Rod,
I
we
gotta
got,
set up a,
do we have a problem, legally with, having an unofficial quorum?
What do you
If-
mean by
if-
having an unofficial quorum?
Well, if we have, if.
no, working on committee type, work, getting work done, no.
Okay.
Making-
No, so you guys are
Well,
not
is that-
bound by, so let me restate what I think the question was. Are we as a committee bound by the sunshine laws that local government are?
Yes.
No, you are not. That's your beauty.
That's a breath of fresh air, because I can tell you it was not like that in Nevada.
So, and that goes back to you're not spending any money.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
You're making recommendations.
Good.
I would be happy to tag along on sites,
Okay.
and then that way I can help report that midway through this process between this meeting and our next meeting to council.
Okay.
So I'm sure it will continue to be a
So we
conversation.
have Chelsea, Rod, Mike, myself, and
Willie.
if Willie's accessible
Yeah,
during
I would
the
say,
working day,
you
can we
guys
meet?
kinda get a rough idea where you're at, and then when you got a bunch of spots picked, Willie or Willie now
Willie.
come out and show us, and he may
Okay.
say, I want that one over there.
And those field trips, as Michael attests, sometimes we modify those field trips and we drive around and look for ideas. While we're both in the car, we just go looking, so.
And honestly, just give me as much notice as possible. I'm usually about a book out or a week out.
You know what, when we terminate this meeting, let's sit down and figure it out. Okay. Any other questions? Any other questions for Alan? Alan, any last minute input?
If anyone wants to be added to the email list, which has been going out frequently, let me know.
Okay. You'll be kept in the loop. You're out.
Thank you very much, Alan. We
All right.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thanks for
Thank you,
hanging in
guys.
there.
Let's see, where are we? We were at,
We're done.
well, we're also public comments. Anybody got public
So
comments?
Roger,
Yes.
I can help on as-needed basis, so I'm gearing up because of all the volunteer stuff I do up on the upper field, and we need to do an event for Shelley's Field, and it's gonna take all my time in
Yeah,
April, May.
that's understood. Okay, we're at citizens' comments and matters. Any citizens here, Mike, that have a comment or
Yeah.
matter they'd like to bring to?
Well, this is becoming more clear. I was totally unaware of how and what the money could be used for.
Okay.
And it doesn't seem practical the way it is right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, all right. You have a motion for adjournment?
Adjourn. I don't think you have to make a motion. so-
You make a motion, but you don't have to vote on it. or
Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right. We are adjourned.
Okay, so
Yeah,
in
that
terms
goes back
of
to-
scheduling,
Okay, so is the
It'll be
plan
fun.
or that Mike's gonna get reimbursed to do
I totally don't
labor?
know. I don't know anything at this
see, and that's just it, we gotta figure out what this
I
budget
know.
looks
Yeah.
like. It sounds like part of that is to reimburse or to pay Mike, and that'd be part of that administrative cost.
Yeah.
So the admin cost would be paying Mike, marketing, putting flyers out there, the actual coordination of the, you know, the staff,
So,
that kind
and
of
if
thing.
you need a skid steer and an auger, is that something
Water,
that
sewer,
that
streets.
Public Works can do?
Exactly.